Okay, let's get into this week's Coronation Street then. And we are going to be starting off with the goings-on at number 9, which I very much enjoyed this week. I've kind of merged the two stories together because there's the stuff with Hope and Jack and Sam, but then there's also Alina coming back next at the end of the week, or the midway to the end of the week. And they're not really the same story, but there's a little bit of overlap, so I'm going to smush them all together. Still got two storyline titles though. Burning Love is what I'm going to be calling the Hope and Jack storyline.
But where'd you get that from?
Well, the fact that they're setting fires all over the place.
Where's that come from?
It's like, my heart burns with passion, that kind of thing.
In Copenhagen,
yes,
they have, at the Christmas markets, they have a dish called Burning Love.
Oh, well, there we go. They must have named it after the storyline then.
Potatoes, bacon, cheese, and apple.
I did not know that.
And it's a concoction made of dreams.
Lovely. I'm going to be... I'm quite pleased with my Tyrone storyline title. I've called it Tyson Furore.
You know Tyson Fury?
Yeah, but nobody's really mad. I would have called it Tyson Fury.
I think it's to come. I think it's TBC.
Yeah, if somebody got really, really mad, but everyone was kind of shocked but chill about it this week, which I appreciated. There wasn't a case of the screaming abdabs from Fizz, so there was no fury, but there was a furore. So Tyson Furore, I'm quite pleased with that one. We have then got the Daddy Deering storyline, which is a bit of a pants storyline title, but what are you going to do? The Mason and the Carpenter is next, so what's Stu and Mason up to? Beth gets shirty. We've got the Counterfeit storyline in 4th position, and we will be rounding things off with a little bit more of Leanne's Institute. Amy's back from her retreat. Still not fully brainwashed as much as I would like, but...
No, but she still had... No, she was like... I love the retreat.
She was.
Here is a phrase for you. It's like they just talk to each other in like cliches.
There was a scene where both Amy and Leanne conversed basically in reality.
It's like, like The Apprentice, everybody speaks in business speak.
To try and impress Sir Alan.
It's like the cult version of that where everyone's like, pursue your dreams, the cabin awaits, open the briefcase and let out your nightmares.
I needed just to have a character in the background looking at them, just giving them a what? Maybe just that silent waiter in the bistro could have just been there looking on at them with the weirdest expression on their face.
Maybe they could start off looking cranky, and then next week they just blissed out because they went on the retreat and they're like, the specials are within your heart. You unlock your programming and you'll know what specials... I mean, it is just risotto. So...
Right, I was saying this to you when we were doing the short on Monday, that one of the things that I think is maybe stopping me from enjoying some bits of Coronation Street at the moment, and it is mostly the overuse of the... overuse sounds negative, but I suppose I'm having a bit of a moan about it. The Lauren and Joel story is the fact that there's too many new characters on screen at once. And by new characters, I kind of mean ones that go back a year and a half, 2 years, were not in the show at all. You know what I'm getting at? Mm-hmm. That with this one, you got Dee Dee is probably the most established character in the Joel story, but she's still only been on the show for 2 years or less than that. Then you got Lauren in the show a year and a half, very on and off. You got Betsy, you got Joel, and a lot of screen time is taken up on these characters that I still am a bit unsure about, and I don't know whether I've got to know them well enough yet, and it feels like that a lot of them are just kind of thrown in there for plot purposes rather than any kind of character development, and I think that's what's maybe getting me a bit down on this one, the lack of characters that we've really invested in. Do you feel the same way at all? I know you're enjoying the story more.
I think it's a very good point. I think Coronation Street perhaps is worried that maybe it's a bit too insular and relies on iconic characters, and there's certainly loads of characters who've been in it for 20 years or more. And so maybe they're like, oh, we need to, get some new people in so that people who are new don't feel so alienated. But if you're flicking through, you're not going to know the difference between somebody's been in it for 10 years, somebody's been in it for 5 years, and somebody was in it yesterday, because they're all new. You don't know who any of them are.
I don't really know why they would do it, apart from it feels like sometimes Coronation Street has the idea for, well, let's do this story. Who have we got that we could do this story with? No one really, so let's bring in some new characters, give them that story, and then by the end of the story they'll be gone. It's like they sometimes do with the villains. They bring them in, they have the story, and then they're dead by the end of it, except this is what we're seeing with almost all the characters in this story.
But that's why you don't do stories, you do characters. And I totally get the idea that you don't want... Is there some kind of stigma that they're thinking, I don't want people to go flicking through the channels and say, oh my God, I can't believe that Rita's still in Coronation Street? Is that really a bad thing? I don't think so.
No.
I think the people that have stayed the course are there because they're, number one, they're dedicated and they're not running off to go and do projects somewhere else. Number two, they're good at acting. And number three, they're a good character with lots of stuff to do. And I think the action and the stories should always, in a soap, come from your characters and not be driven by story ideas.
It's not
that would eventually end up ruining, because honestly, let's be honest, Joel, Betsy, Lauren, Mason, I respect all those characters and the actors who play them. Are they going to be in it in 5 years? I don't know, but also I would say quite a lot of people wouldn't care one way or the other, and that's no bad reflection.
Yeah.
That's just the sort of characters they're playing. They're all playing villains or unlikable characters, and I've said for years that Coronation Street needs to do more unlikable characters, but I just don't think they have to be all new.
The balance has been tipped a little bit too far with some of those.
I really also, if you're flicking through, I don't think anyone flicks through channels anymore, but if you're flicking through, I think you should be able to tell you've flicked onto Coronation Street.
Yeah.
And there are scenes in Coronation Street now where you would not know what you were watching. Who is this? I don't know. People who
Why
don't
are they
watch
in a
Corrie,
hospital?
People who don't watch Corrie know, that there are characters that everyone would know. But I don't think that Lauren, Joel, Betsy, Mason, even someone like Max, I don't think they are like, oh, it's Coronation, I'm watching Coronation Street. It should always be obvious that you're watching Coronation Street.
Yeah, which is why I think that some of the icons should be dotted through most of the stories, or try and bring back some more of the iconic characters, which EastEnders seems to be doing a lot of this year.
But my counter argument to you is that I love the Joel and Lauren story.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't particularly care.
I mean, you can certainly have there's a big story that's full of new characters, and those characters are so beloved and engaging, and straight away they strike you as, wow, where have you been for the whole of my life? But I'm not quite feeling that with this bunch yet.
And also, you brought up a good point with EastEnders, bringing back some of their icons. With Coronation Street, I think the problem that they are, if they're trying to emulate that, which I certainly don't think they are, the problem that they would run up against if they were to try to do that is that all of their icons are either dead on screen or dead off screen.
Yeah.
Or they've left for very good reasons, and they wouldn't make any sense to bring them back.
We've spoken a few times about this, haven't we? And who could Coronation Street really bring back? And I don't want to go into spoiler territory with EastEnders, because I only know a few people that have been brought back, and some of them certainly aren't on screen yet.
Even I recognise the people they've brought back as EastEnders stars, but for Coronation Street, who could you actually bring back?
Yeah, you're right. They're either dead or they're too big, because we're not going to have Becky back. We're not going to have Karen back.
They're still in it.
Yeah.
Bring back Rita, bring back Ken, bring back Audrey, bring back Gail, bring back...
back Gail is a very sensible shout at the moment, considering it's been months since we've seen...
But none of those people have left, they're just not appearing.
Yeah.
Coronation Street is in a very unique position where, I think that over the last 10 years, I'm not really sure that there's anyone who's been a major lever who would really make waves if they came back, because the cast is so big.
Yeah.
So even if you're somebody I think Eva Price maybe, or
yes, actually she could do it.
But even she, I love her. Even she is not like, oh my god, I can't believe they've got so and so for EastEnders, which again I'm not going to say spoilers like you for the same reason you said, but no, but she's not a household name.
No. No.
Like the same way EastEnders is, because EastEnders, it's got I think, am I wrong, a much smaller cast.
I don't know if it's much smaller, but it's certainly more diminutive than Coronation Street. But anyway, Coronation Street has brought back. It's been quite a big year for comebacks this year. Violet, I suppose, has been the most striking for me.
But
nobody knows who she is. She's not a big Coronation Street name. And a lot of the other comebacks have been people like, Stefan or Damon or Harvey. And they're all just people who've been in it fairly recently. But I don't know whether, and we're going very much off topic at the moment, I don't know even whether bringing back a big name, if we could get someone like Shelley Unwin back on the show, how much of a difference that would make. But at the end of the day, I'm still feeling that the Joel story could be more engaging if one of the main characters was somebody that I had real investment in. And that's why, one of the reasons why I'm very much enjoying the Tyrone stuff this week, because it is about that family, the Dobbs family. And say what you like, not everybody likes having Tyrone and Fizz together, but I've got a real thing for long-term couples. They've been together as a couple for 12 years, on and off, of course, because we did have Double L Phil in the middle there. And Hope, Ruby, even Evelyn, she's been on the show for 5 years now. Cassie's the only newcomer in there. You got Jack involved in it this week. You got Alina, who has been, very much obviously an on and off character, but still she's got some kind of mini legacy. And I'll pay attention, and my ears will flick up a lot more when those scenes are on screen, just because I feel some bit more connection to the characters. And that's the same with the Leanne story as well, because you got Nick, Leanne, Toya, some of these big names. But I don't want to stop some new characters. The difficulty don't want to not give them the chance to shine.
There's always the balance between, you don't want it to feel stale. And again, even with the Fizz and Tyrone storyline, it does feel like we're retreading old ground, because you've got Fizz going, why the hell are you sniffing after this bit of totty who's half your age?
Yeah, but we knew that was coming.
No, I know, but what's there's a baby, but we knew there was a baby because they told us.
They very strongly hinted.
Do you know what I mean? It's like oh, here we are. It's like deja vu.
It remains to be seen what's going to happen here, and I'm sure once we've run down the synopsis of the story, we'll have a little chat about what we think's coming.
I'm not criticising it. I'm just pointing it out, and I don't mind watching. I think the drama's quite interesting with this dynamic, but. I mean, what was it? 2 years ago?
3 years ago since Alina left.
The difference is she's got the baby now. She would have had the baby if she'd stayed for another few months. And it feels like we're retreading the same, are you giving up your family for this woman? And now it's, are you giving up your family for this woman and a baby?
Yeah,
it's not really much different.
We've got Cassie on the scene now. The girls are a bit older. We'll see.
I'm just saying. I think there's a lot of potential, but are we gonna like only ever use old characters for the same stories over and over again? I don't know. It's a really hard balance, and again, one of these
that's why we're not producing.
I'm eternally grateful for is the fact it's got nothing to do with me. I don't have to make any decision.
We just get to critique the end product.
Go, whatever it is you did, I think it was wrong.
So, what happened with her this week then? So it does start off with the burning love part of the story. It was last week, wasn't it, that Hope heard that... Oh no, was it the end of today's episode? It was the end of today's episode that Hope finds out about Jack being a bit Bernie.
They call that pyromania.
Oh no, was it the end of... No, it wasn't.
No, she found out last week because she did
it was.
Smirk.
You're right. It was the end of last week where she did her
she was
smirk.
Like, interesting.
So the mission for Monday for Hope is to ditch that square Sam.
Tell you what, Hope is very, very romantically ambitious.
Why? What do you mean?
What do you mean? She's jumping from man to man.
Well, she's got confidence, that kid, hasn't she? Good for her.
I'll tell you what she's got. She's looked at her mum. She's looked at Fizz and gone, she's stuck with the same bloke all this time. What has it got you? I'm gonna be like a monkey swinging from tree to tree until I get to the highest peak of the canopy, which hopefully, I don't know, what's the equivalent of a Stefan Brent for me.
Fizz has had a few men. She's had John Stape. She's had Kirk. She's not been a one-woman man.
Michael, if we're talking about swinging from tree to tree, she's basically pole dancing round a mulberry bush.
Okay, anyway, look, so she wants to go and see Sam today to give him the old heave-ho. And when he's there in Nick and Leanne's flat, boring her with some science investigation about that he was going to...
His friend
in France are going to look through a telescope at the same time together or something.
The Earth is round or something.
I don't know what it was. But she's like, you can tell that she's utterly bored by this, and she takes the opportunity to just say, look, this isn't working. This scene was fantastic. And to be honest, I almost thought that they could have dragged it out for a little bit longer, the breakup. Because one thing the comedy in this relationship has been, oh, look, they're like little adults, like when they were getting together and they had the date and he was with his suit and his chocolates and everything. And some of the phrases that they came out with here were clearly in that bent, weren't they? Because she says, look, this isn't working, we need to see other people. She says, I'm looking for someone a bit rough around the edges, which was great. And poor old Sam, sadly we didn't get very much Sam after this scene, did we? He's probably wallowing. We saw him in the
he's probably
in the precinct for one scene later where he says, I'm having problems with my love life or something. But I loved the bit where he says, Hope, can we tell people it was mutual? She's like, no. She's harsh. That poor kid, Sammy's had his heart broken for the first time, if you don't count his mum dying.
Oh God. I know you said a very good point, which I don't really think I've seen other people say about the fact that the number of new characters that are involved in quite pivotal storylines is really disproportionately high. But I've seen a lot of criticism about there are too many young characters. Yeah,
there was something I saw in the Mirror just today about that, people moaning about there being too many young characters. And it included, it was saying there's been too much Lauren and there's been too much Alina.
Okay, she's not been in it.
One episode.
She's been in it she's not been in it for so long she's hatched a child, for goodness sake.
We've got to train ourselves not to call this kid, what's his name?
Doran.
He's not a baby. Me and you aren't children people. Well, not that kind of children people.
Oh, he's very cute.
I deal with 9 and 10-year-olds, and anything less than that is a baby, as far as I.
If he was free outside someone's house,
might scoop him up.
I'd go, look at that. Can we get him? He's cute. But we probably just get a dog instead.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna say anything bad about the kids' storylines, because I think number one, Lauren's not a kid. You know, I think she's young, but I don't think that's unprecedented in Coronation Street. I think it's a bit of a weird thing to say, to sort of say that that's a bit of a young storyline, because you've got Dee Dee and Joel are just as much a part of it as Lauren is. And the Hope and Sam storyline, are you going to really criticise that? Because they're both the best children in the show.
There is nothing to criticise about Hope and Sam. I do think that sometimes they lean a little bit too much into the late teenagers, and whether it's an attempt to try and woo that particular audience, I don't know. I don't know whether that's particularly going to work or not. I'd maybe like to see a little bit more of Sally and a little bit less of...
Exactly. Who do you get rid of? I think I'd rather get rid of new characters before I got rid of young characters.
Anyway,
but I don't want to. I'm fine with how everything's been. I guess is my argument.
So Hope leaves poor old Sam licking his wounds and then goes straight on home to tart herself up in makeup. She was just great
this week. I just loved her.
She was so good.
She is a man-eater. You got to watch that girl.
Yeah, she is. Fizz is telling her, look, you got to be careful. You don't, because she was saying to Tyrone, I think earlier in the episode, we need to keep her the hell away from Jack. And she says to Hope here, look, bad boys can be overrated. I mean, Hope should have picked up there with you're the one that married a serial killer, Mum.
I just loved her casually doing her makeup. Like,
I know.
I've just got to move on with my life, Mum. You know, you can't dwell on these things. Like, she like literally she set fire to her relationship with Sam, and now she's like a phoenix rising from the ashes. Like, I'm just going to check out what Jack's doing and be a good friend to him.
I bet she never put on makeup for Sam, because he's interested in your personality, isn't he? He wants to examine your brain, not your face. But poor old Jack, I mean, he was a bit blindsided by this as well. Yeah. So Abby goes, Abby's with Tyrone at number 13 later, and he's saying to her, look, I'm really not sure about Hope spending time with Jack right now. You know, maybe he's not the best influence. And Abby, understandably, doesn't take this too well. She's like, well, Hope, she is the OG arsonist of the street. How dare you come round and say, just because my Jack has had a little fire, just almost killed somebody and set their offices alight. That doesn't mean that he's any worse than your stepdaughter or whatever she is.
Sorry, but Tyrone's completely in the right here. He's absolutely right. The only reason Hope's interested in Jack is because he set fire to an office.
Oh, yeah, that's absolutely true. But I don't think that Jack is still a bad lad.
No, he didn't approach it very well. He should have gone to Abby and gone, listen, if you let Hope come around here, Jack will be setting fire to something else very shortly.
Yeah, maybe. Or maybe just like, maybe we should keep our children apart at the moment rather than I want to keep mine away from your pyromaniac son.
Setting fire to things, I think that the shared interest there is perhaps one we might want to discourage.
The thing with Jack is, I think that if Hope sort of got together with him and got to know him, she might find he's
boring.
a bit dull as well.
Yeah, I don't think she'd like it.
Sam's got a personality. I'm sorry, but I'm yet to see that with Jack at the moment.
Right, so here's my question, and I don't know where this is going with this, but is Sam going to try and win Hope back?
Well,
and if he does, I mean, because remember, he's his science display in the in Speed Daal,
yeah,
with flames.
Yes.
Could he like set up some kind of grand fire event to win his arsonist girlfriend back?
It depends, because like I said,
or is he going to wallow?
We didn't get enough of Sam. He was in like 2 scenes this week. It's very sad.
I've got a proposal for Coronation Street. I think that Sam, to win back Hope, should set fire to the resource centre.
Oh, yeah.
With Willow inside, apparently a very flammable woman.
I don't think that this resource centre is going to be built. That's my little prediction.
But if it is, I think it's going to look uncannily like the front of the Coronation Street experience.
Oh, just a bit like that other hotel that Alina went to
what's
today.
It called? The Central Capstone Hotel.
Right, yeah. Anyway, so Hope and Jack do have this little scene together later, and she's really excited to hear about all the criminal exploits that he's been getting up to. But he doesn't really want to talk about it, and I'm not surprised. He doesn't go around setting fires for fun. He doesn't see himself as justice. This is my thing now. He recognises that it was a bit of not an accident, a bit of a bad choice, yes. And he wants to put that behind him now.
And when you say make mistakes when you're a child, it's not the sort of one that you would encourage, really.
No,
it's more like, I don't know, bunk off school or...
I mean, if I was Jack, I'd just be feeling pretty relieved that my parents aren't absolutely, taking me to the... Yeah. Well, he's not been grounded. He's not really been given a good old rollicking.
Has he had his PlayStation or Xbox taken away?
He's got a Switch, hasn't he, Jack?
Oh, has his Switch been broken in half?
Yeah,
no.
He's got away pretty lightly with this. So maybe it's no wonder that he doesn't want to talk about it. He's just ready to move on. He does grin when she says that that she's dumped Sam, but then later on, or is it on Wednesday's episode, we find out that he's actually not interested in her at all. So Hope comes back home full of attitude, really, so what, I've been with Jack. She's like, it's early days for us, but yeah, we've got some chemistry. I guess we'll just play it by ear. And then at the end of the episode, Ty goes round to see Tyrone to say sorry for Abby, of what he implied to Abby. And Kev's fine with it, and he says, well, Hope's a good kid after all. This then brings us to Wednesday, when Fizz and Tyrone are talking about the breakup between Hope and Sam still, when Hope comes downstairs, and she's like, well, I want to go shopping today with I don't know what her name is, a mate from her class. But Fizz has noticed that she's dressed up quite smart, in Fizz's shoes, no less, in her leopard print shoes. And like, what's going on here? I didn't realise when this episode, when I started to watch this on Wednesday, that she'd be going to the doctors. That was a nice little surprise scene for me. What did you have any inkling about what Hope was up to? Are we supposed to think that she's going out there with Jack and trying to make an impression on him?
Yeah.
But really, she just wanted to make herself look very grown up to go and see Dr. Gaddis. And this scene, I think, was possibly my highlight of the week, just for the great Hope zingers. First one being when Gaddis says, are you in a sexual relationship at the moment? And Hope's come back was, are you? And Hope says, look, no, I like somebody. I just want to be casing something happens. So she's trying to get herself on the pill.
Yeah.
Isn't she? And this girl is 14. And I don't know what to think about this, because obviously, the age of consent is 16. Gaddis didn't seem particularly too fazed by it. I think that some 14-year-olds are at it all the time. Sadly, I don't think that. I think that if you're a GP, a child of Hope's age coming to you to talk to you about this is not as out of the ordinary as maybe society would think it should be.
Oh, are you kidding? Look, you're coming at this from a male perspective. As a woman, I think you have a slightly different relationship with your doctor when you're a girl. The doctor, when I was a girl, had spoken to me without my parents about certain things, and would, ask my parents to leave the room to ask me questions about some things sometimes.
I've never had that.
Well, no, you wouldn't do, because there's no risk of pregnancy when you're a boy, and we don't have a sort of religious stigma in this country like other countries might have about preventing sex between children, because that's what we're talking about. More of a social pressure, but the main pressure is prevent pregnancy where possible. And the pill is certainly an option, but it's a hormonal thing that some women react badly to. So Gaddis giving her advice about, you should use condoms and not pills is probably correct. And I think that GPs have these conversations with young girls because... Yeah.
It's very
and honestly, the fact that she's come is very sensible, that Hope's come and said, look, put me on the pill, please. I don't think she knows what that really entails.
I don't know whether she doesn't or not, because I still think...
Well, no, because I'm just saying, even grown women who have never had an issue with their pills or any kind of hormonal contraception, who've not had any negative side effects or experienced any bad side effects, that they're not going to know that's possible. It can be very bad, actually, for some people, and it also has risks of like cancers and things.
I kind of get mixed up in my head about how old Hope is, and because she's been played so brilliantly by Bella for I don't know how many years it's been now. It's been quite a few.
Funny to see
I
her
still kind of see her
go,
as being so much younger than she actually is.
She's got a baby face.
Yeah, and she has. And if we rewind back a few years, when we had this a similar situation, a similar story with Asher when she was dating Corey, well, she was 15 then,
right.
and Hope's going to be 15 in December. So there actually isn't a huge difference between, and it didn't seem like so shocking. I was shocked by this, Hope asking about this, and I think it was supposed to be, but then when I was thinking about it, I thought, oh no, actually,
look,
it probably
as a
does
girl,
go on. But I wasn't so much for Asher.
As someone who's been a girl who's gone through, like, my school had like the highest rate of teen pregnancies in Europe, or like, one of the highest. Everyone we were constantly being told about contraception and like, how to use it and stuff. So to me, this is not really that surprising. But I think the fact, and I say baby face, and I don't want anyone to take offence or like read anything negatively into this, because I had baby face, you did. We were both looked very young for our age, and I think that different kids have different looks. Like Betsy is 2 years older than Hope. You would not think that to look at her. I don't know how old the actress is.
The actress is 21.
Okay, well, but I don't find it surprising if you told me Betsy's 16, looks 16 to me. Hope told me she's 14, fine. Do they look like they're on the same spectrum of like, appearance? Not really, but also Hope could look like that until she's like 30. Yeah. That's how some people look. So perhaps the fact that Hope looks very young for her age is kind of throwing people off a bit here. But I think realistically, none of this shocked me.
I'm quite excited that we could be on the precipice of a deluge of Hope. I can't remember how old the actors need to be before they're allowed to work a bit more. Is it 16? I'm not sure. But so we could be close to, because Hope's always, and Sam as well, just been in pockets here and there. Hope's been in it more as a regular character, but yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what she goes through as a teenager.
I don't know what the age is for acting, but I think for Chimneys it's like 8.
Oh yeah,
for full time.
So they could be doing that already as it is.
Yeah, so I thought this was really good. I think this is a great way to explore this relationship between the parents and the child and the doctors, because I do think some parents are taken by surprise by the fact that children actually do have a lot of bodily autonomy at that age. And I also think that if Tyrone and Fizz stop to think a bit more about beyond their initial shocked reaction, which I don't blame them for, they'd probably be quite grateful that Dr. Gaddis was like, please don't get pregnant, rather than please don't have sex. Because when had that latter one ever worked? We've never had in this country, in recent memory, we've not had abstinence education for sex education in this country. It's just not what we do. I know in some parts of America and different countries, that's how you educate children about avoiding STDs and sex and the consequences of like pregnancy and stuff. We just don't do that here. We just say,
I know that Tyrone.
This is what it is.
I remember when Tyrone had his first encounter with a lady. That was after a little mini story where he was abstinent himself. He didn't want to be like Jackie and bringing home a different person every night, and he was ribbed by Kev and some of the others at the garage. So he was, in Coronation Street terms at least, a bit of a late bloomer, so that might add to his surprise a little bit. Not too sure about Fizz. I can't remember.
She was a goer, probably.
Do you reckon? She was a tiger in the bedroom, and do you remember that tiger top that she had?
Look, there's no morality here. We're not talking about whether it's good or bad. It's none of my business. I literally could not care less, because I'm not have children. I can understand being shocked, but equally I've had more experience being a child, and I would find it really upsetting to have been told at that age that I wasn't allowed to have this conversation.
Yeah, I think that Gaddis did the right thing.
Absolutely.
I'm quite disappointed in a way that we didn't get the scene with Fizz talking to Gaddis about it, because when she finds out later on, she's like, I'm going to ring up the medical centre straight away, but then it didn't go anywhere.
I would have loved to have seen that. I would love to have seen Dr. Gaddis putting Fizz in her place. But again, I don't, I'm not a parent, but I can try to imagine as what's the word? Inadequate as that might seem to parents, my imagination. But if I had a kid and they were 14, I would be a bit sick and incredibly worried.
For sure.
And I probably wouldn't phone her up, but I would definitely be like slacking her off, going, "Who's this pimp giving my kid contraceptives?"
The best bit about that scene, going back to it with Hope and Gaddis, was when she brings her this little paper bag, and you can see Gaddis is still talking about it, and Hope kind of takes the box out and kind of looking it over, and then the scene ends with saying, "Is 2 going to be enough?" That came out of nowhere. That took me by a complete surprise, and I did have a big old laugh.
That was really funny.
That was great.
That was just like absolute innocence.
And I think that the comedy in this scene probably helped the scene feel a bit less of a here's a lesson. But no, I'm thinking like this kind of thing could have come across as being a bit too preachy. And maybe, why there's some children of Hope's age watching this scene, and are they getting educated by this, and maybe the comedy in the scene helped it to be a little bit more digestible. I'm
just going to say to anyone who's worried, if there are any parents out there thinking, oh my God, a 14-year-old girl would have seen a condom in school. I would hope that they would have already seen a condom and been taught how to use it. It's not like Dr. Gaddis is stepping out or anything untoward is happening here. I kind of wish at the end Dr. Gaddis had said, yes, but not at the same time. Because that was always something they tried to tell us. Don't use 2 at once, because it won't be twice as good. It will be not as good.
So she gets home and walks straight into a Spanish Inquisition from Ruby about where she's been up to. And then they start to squabble, and then the condoms fall out the bag. It kind of writes itself a little bit. Fizz walks in right at that very moment.
And she says, what is this pregnancy test? What is this contraception?
Ruby's reaction was the best there, and very realistic as well, considering there's a bit of an age gap, isn't there? But Ruby's like, ew. Like, to her, this is still gross.
Yeah, good.
And she's only...
Put them off as much as possible.
She's, 13 maybe is Ruby? So 12, 13, I can't remember. It's not a huge difference, but I think she's definitely young enough to be gross. And I think you probably would, even, if she's been 14, she probably would have found it a bit gross to imagine
your sister.
From her sister. But I loved also Ruby's reaction as Hope's being grilled by Fizz and Ty later, because Ruby just said that it's a you're in trouble kind of grin. I don't know really why she was allowed to listen into it, but maybe I suppose Fizz and Tyrone were so
teachable
shocked.
Moment.
Yeah, teachable moment, exactly. Don't want to lose the momentum. Let me take advantage of this rage and shock that I'm feeling at the moment and get this lesson out.
I'm sure that Fizz and Tyrone, upon reflection about how they reacted to it, would be kicking themselves a little bit, because I think every parent wants to imagine, oh yeah, I'll be cool. You know, I want my kids to be safe. I don't want them to be risky. You know, I encourage them to you know, if they need contraception. But just suddenly having your kid turn up and go, look at this, out of the blue.
Yeah.
I feel so sorry for Sam. They were like, we never had to worry about this with Sam. Sam would be like, before we engage in any kind of nuptial activity, I need to have some kind of ceremony to...
Oh my God, just imagine. This scene could be mere years away. I hope Coronation writers are writing Sam losing his virginity already.
No,
this could be a peak scene.
Oh, no. Again, baby face. If Hope's baby face, then Sam is like toddler face, because they...
I thought that Sam was looking a little bit older. I think he's grown up a little bit this week.
All babies, aren't they?
Yeah, he
oh,
is.
Bless them.
He is. I can't wait. Anyway,
they need to put something in the water for children just to stop them from be able to have kids. It's just, oh dear.
So Tyrone marches round number 13 for a word with Kevin.
Kevin's like, it's not my condom.
He's kind of convinced Tyroners that maybe Jack is in on this, and he asked Hope to get them.
Well, that's the missing link, isn't it?
And Jeanette's like, no. He's also a bit like, ooh, about it as well, which is kind of funny considering how much older Jack looks than Hope. But he's still very innocent. He just sets fires, that's all. But that drama pales in comparison to what's going on with Fizz over at Freshco's at the moment, because as she's putting her shopping into her car, who should walk past but Alina? And I love the moment where Alina sees Fizz. I don't know whether you noticed this, but she kind of spots her, she clocks her, and then tries to avoid eye contact, and she kind of shuffles away, but then Fizz turns round and sees her.
That's what I do.
And she's like, what are you doing here? Have you moved back? Fizz knew that she was likely due back, didn't she?
Well, she was concerned. That's why she wanted to go on holiday.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Because of the trafficking
And Alina
case.
says, oh no, I'm just here to give evidence in a trial. But then she, just to precipitate the reveal that she has a child, she drops her phone. She's got an armful of shopping, and Fizz sees on the lock screen a picture of her posing with this young toddler, which Alina says is her nephew. But when she drives off in the taxi and is asked to be taken to Chariot Square, Fizz looks a bit concerned, and she has the exact same reaction that you probably would do if you're any good at maths. That kid could be Tyrone's. Back at number 9 later, Hope's already received this text message from Jack saying that I don't want to talk to you. I don't want anything to do with you anymore. So she's heartbroken, and maybe this relationship is dead in the water before it's even started. I would
imagine being Jack, like, this girl's come round. The next thing I know,
she only loves me for my box of matches.
And what's in my boxes?
Yeah. I still prefer the idea of Hope and Sam together, just because those are two decently developed characters. Now, maybe putting Hope with Jack would give him more of a chance to develop as a character, but I don't really want to sacrifice Hope and Sam, even though I don't particularly see them as a good match at all.
No, they're not.
And
terrible.
We've seen, this isn't the first time. It didn't come out of the blue, her being bored with his science investigations. She's been tired of him.
Experiments.
Not that we've seen a whole lot of them, but she's been tired of him a few times. And I really don't think that those two could and maybe should have a future together. But
Who?
Hope and Sam. But
No, I
feel like we've not seen enough of them, and that's due to the amount that Jude and Bella have been able to act on screen. But the relationship had more legs. Just the fact that the breakup scene was so brilliant.
They're great.
I
Honestly,
feel
they're
robbed
great.
of other moments of the two of them doing grown-up couple things, but, as 13,
children.
14-year-olds.
Yep, I love them.
So, what I also really, really appreciated about this story on Wednesday's episode was Fizz went and had a chat to her friend, Maria.
What?
Yes, she has got a friend.
What? Are you telling me they've got a long history?
Fizz and Maria,
they back
used to flat
decades.
together. They do actually go back decades.
Both been
and well
in the
done,
show
Coronation Street, for remembering that for one scene this week.
Since they were teenagers.
Yeah.
The characters and actors, they've both been in it. Same as Toya. They were all, teeny, girly, young girls together in the show.
So I really love this. They go to she goes to the salon, they sit down with a cup of tea and just chat about what's been going on. And wouldn't that be lovely if characters could do that more often? Just having a chat with their mates and asking for advice. So Fizz tells her about Alina being back, about the little boy on the phone, and she's like, oh, it couldn't be his, could it? But Maria says, well, you said that she's at Chariot Square, and Maria kind of gives her the impetus to go and track her down later. So it was only a short one, but very much appreciated. So Fizz finds Alina. I mean, you got a whole hotel to search, but fortunately, as is the case of all characters who go to Chariot Square, generally tend to linger about the lobby. And there she is with a buggy with this little sprog sitting down there, and Fizz says, "Oh, so this kid, you said that he was your nephew earlier. Is he your son?" Alina's quite taken aback by the fact that Fizz has confronted her about this and says, look, I'm going back to Romania tomorrow, don't want to talk about it, doesn't matter. You never saw us and we never saw you. Poor old Granny Pop is waiting there for her. She's probably knitted her a nice jumper and has got some stew on the stove for her. You're not going to be Alina's grandma.
You took this episode recount, so you can do the Alina and
I can't do it as well as you.
You decided you wanted to read this out, not me.
But
everyone at home is just mad because they wanted to hear my Alina impression and they're being robbed.
You can still do it whenever you want. Yeah. So Fizz doesn't get any answers out of her there. She goes home and sits down quietly. I love this. I really love the character, the interplay between Fizz and Tyrone. You can tell that they've got a lot of history together, and it's not all kind of high drama, sexy stuff all the time, and it's just real, kitchen sink, family,
natural
relationship kind of stuff, and
the natural reaction you'd have when your husband's Romanian lover returns with a baby.
It happens all the time to us normal folk. Tyrone sees that she's nervous and kind of goes over there and puts his hand on her shoulder, and we don't see the whole recounting of what happened, but later on she's told him her theory about this kid, and he's pacing around the room nervously, and he's like, bloody hell, you're saying about that kid.
I knew something was up, and I tried to brush his under the carpet, but I was in Tesco the other day and I saw the front of TV Times and it said baby drama for Tyrone, and I thought I was pregnant, actually, but it turns out it was not me.
Turns out it's somebody else. I mean, Tyrone probably should be used to this kind of thing happening, considering that quite a few of his neighbours have also had grown-up children landing on their doorstep a few years after the conception has taken place. He needs to go and ask Nick for some advice here. But
or anybody. I mean, Kevin... His kid turned out to be Kevin's.
Yeah, that's true. They didn't really go into that route of, in another life, Jack could have been Hope's older brother. That would have been a bit weird.
We did say, when we were sort of talking about this before, I don't know if we said it on a podcast or if it was in a bonus episode or a Patreon one or whatever, but this is Tyrone's son. This is his only son. I don't think he's going to have another baby with anybody, but who knows. He thought he had a son in Jack, and then he ended up with two daughters. And of course, I think having a daughter is probably more fun than having a son because I'm a woman. But as a man, probably he's thinking about all the things he can do with.
I think that child, Tyrone would like the idea of having a son.
And again, gender roles have changed a lot, but I don't think that many people would argue that Hope and Ruby are particularly interested in cars. He's got a chance now. He's got a football chance. He's got a car chance.
Beer chance. Everything.
All these things that he can do, perhaps, that he might not be able to do with his daughters. And again, gender stereotypes, whatever, I think it's not unrealistic to say that these are things he's thinking about.
Yeah, for sure.
He thought he had that when Molly had their son. It turned out not to be his, so it's a second chance for him.
So he tells Fizz to look. We should. I need to find out. She's at Chariot Square, is she? And I love that they tell each other they love each other. They're on the same page. They've both had this bombshell dropped on them, but so far it's not been enough to tear them apart. And it would have been so easy to create massive soap drama here of one of them flying off the handle and the other one storming out. But they are united so far.
Okay, but I think that Tyrone is sort of saying, "I love you." Like, I don't want you to get upset about this. This is not to do with you. Like, don't feel this is anything that's gonna break us apart. And Fizz is saying, I love you, don't forget, like you did last time, that you already have a family. I'm not saying that's how they played it, but you can read that, you know, that the idea that they're saying I love you like they're on a united front. I think they're both coming at it from a perspective of this is going to change everything. Are you okay?
Yeah.
And I don't know if they will be.
Fizz's reaction throughout this, she gets a bit more worried on Friday, doesn't she? Yeah. When it seems like Alina could be staying around longer and she wants Tyrone to have a relationship with this kid. You know, so, some women, some characters, some real life women would use this as an opportunity to have a real go at the guy, saying how could you get another woman pregnant? Yeah. But she was, I can't remember whether she was with Phil at this point or not, but Tyrone was, at the end of the day, in a new relationship. He'd split up with Fizz, and she knew that Alina had been pregnant before, and she had that miscarriage with during the fire, hadn't they? Yeah. So she can't really blame it on him.
Well,
but she's probably pretty peeved anyway.
Okay.
What?
Okay. She can't blame it on him, but it was his fault.
Yeah, I know, but it's not. They were trying for a baby, and here's a baby.
I know, but the thing is, like, you can't just be like, well, any woman who's had a man who's been in a relationship with a man who had an affair is to sort of count up in her head how long ago that affair was and be prepared for a child to appear that's exactly that age at any point in her life or going onwards.
Well, anyway.
In a soap you do.
In a soap you do, yeah. So Tyrone goes off to the hotel. He's demanding to see Alina. They're not telling him. Then Debbie turns up and said, "Oh, she's not here, Tyrone. She checked out a while ago."
I mean, was it a listener questions about pregnancies and babies on Coronation Street? I know we talked about it in great length about, you know, the statistics about if you're pregnant on Corrie, it's a 50-50 chance of whether you're going to have a baby, and this is kind of outdated now because there haven't been a lot of babies on Corrie, but the last 3 babies have all been affair babies. You've got Francis, you've got Dorian, whatever his name is, you've got Alfie. Those are the 3 last conceived, aren't they?
I think so. I mean,
and there's nobody. Who's the one after that?
I can't remember.
It's been a big gap.
Yeah, it's because there aren't very many traditional families on Coronation Street. There aren't very many couples that stay together for a long time, which is why I like to fight for the likes of Tyrone and Fizz and Nick and Leanne.
I don't. It's a soap, so yeah. But it's kind of funny that nobody. And again, I've said this on Corrie before. No one's gone, I love you, you love me. Let's get married and have a baby. Yes, what an uncomplicated...
I think probably the last children before Alfie were the Quads, maybe. Yeah, and that was within a... they weren't married at the time.
It doesn't count then.
They had the babies and then they got married the following year, I think.
That's very traditional, really.
Yeah, they're the closest.
They are, aren't they?
And that's another family
that's nice.
That's another family that I like the dynamic between. I just... I'm more a family guy, I suppose.
It's nothing, and again, it's like, it's kind of sad that it feels like that's a subversive thing to say, but it's not really, because family units and having children are like a really normal and fun and healthy way to live your life. But
not for everyone.
Not for everyone. We're not doing it. I don't feel bad about saying it. If anyone gets offended, about me saying that, I don't understand why, because I'm not doing it. So I'm just saying on Coronation Street, it'd be nice if somebody just did it. It'd be like, what, avant-garde. Imagine that.
Right, we're spending ages on this story. Friday then, so today's episode, we start off with Tyrone checking out flights to Romania online, and because he wants to try and track down Alina before she jets off into the distance, never to be seen again. And Fizz catches him and he says, look, you should have told me straight away about this. As soon as you knew that she was going to be back, why didn't you tell me?
Well, he's panicking now because he's not been able to get hold of her, has he? And he's like, I could never see this child. Why didn't you tell me?
Evelyn is on the side of, you need to leave the situation well alone. Cassie is like, I can't believe you're being serious. This could be, my grandchild we're talking about, your great-grandchild. I don't know whether that was in character for Evelyn or not. It probably was just better for there to be a difference of opinion between the two matriarchs.
This is a woman who would bury everything if she could. This is a woman who hid the fact that, the secret about lots of things in her life.
Well, Cassie, I suppose, was the big one.
Yes, and the baby, Tyrone. She's like, just don't talk about it.
But she
and then she also had a boyfriend from the war that she never talked about. Just bury everything. But all your feelings, all your relationships.
She says that, but I don't think she believes it. I think that I'd like to think that when we get the scene where Evelyn first meets Doran, that her heart's going to melt because he's
very cute.
He is a very, very cute kid. Yeah.
He's the cutest baby we've had in Corrie for years. I mean,
well, Alfie was pretty cute when he was born. Bertie, that's another one that's relatively recent. I can't remember how old he is now. I think there have been a few. So we cut to Alina outside this other hotel, which is completely the Coronation Street Experience entrance with a couple of posters stuck outside of it. At the garage later, Kevin's telling Tyrone, look, Alina popping back to Bucharest could be for the best. So he's on the side of best not to dwell on this. I can't believe that anybody... Well, Tyrone should... how he couldn't be expected to forget about this, could he? There's
bonkers.
No point advising him. If he's already thinking, I kind of want to know...
He's the
telling
guy,
him, no, just forget about it.
He's a really nice guy. He's the sort of person who would forever worry and wonder.
Yeah, I mean, even if you're not a nice guy, you would. But Tyrone is so lovable that he would want to support this child and think it was the honourable thing to do. So I'm not surprised that Tyrone's reacting like this.
There are definitely male characters on the show who probably do have lots of children that they don't know about, and Tyrone is not one of those characters. He's like, oh yeah, probably is a kid somewhere. He's Kevin's saying no, just leave it. Where did we get? Kevin's like, to be honest with you, I kind of regret you told me about Jack.
Yeah, all this drama these guys. So, Cassie, meanwhile, is over in the cab office, filling them in on this family drama that's going on, because Cassie's still kind of friends with Steve at the moment. And Steve says, well, if I was in Tyrone's position, I'd definitely want to know the truth about the kid. And that definitely rings true because of his inability to keep Ollie under wraps when he was born. So he's... where does he go? He goes off for a job or something. Yeah, and she's left on the switch, even though she doesn't work for the cab office. And within seconds, she gets a phone call from some always a prank phone call, isn't it? From somebody calling themselves Maya Butt Cheeks, which is juvenile but kind of funny. So Tyrone's next up asking Dee Dee's advice about this. Dee Dee, who is unwittingly also embroiled in a storyline about a secret love child.
I know.
That's very close to home, but she says, look, you need to get a DNA test. And this is a bit of a Bug's Life Ant situation, isn't it, where we got two stories running concurrently that are both about getting DNA tests for children, and is it the writers are just kind of saying, oh yeah, that's the idea, so good, let's do it twice. So luckily he doesn't even need that. I don't think particularly that story was really that scene was really needed. What? With Tyrone visiting Dee Dee. It didn't.
Well, they always said Dee Dee's got to be in every scene.
That apart from that, of course, yeah.
Dee Dee's got to be in every episode.
Got to be doing something. So another call comes into Streetcars.
Honestly, though, Dee Dee. If I was Dee Dee, at this point, I would. You'd have to. The door of my office would be coin operated. Everyone comes to her for free advice, and they always want to know now, and they always want her to solve every single problem. She's saying, it's complicated. Where was the child born? And Tyrone's like, I don't know.
Oh yes, that is actually the point.
What do you mean? I don't know.
That was the plot.
Why are you asking me about it then?
Scene.
Go on Reddit and ask them or something.
She says to Tyrone, was he born here or was he born in Romania? And Tyrone says, well, probably Romania, but he later finds out he was actually born in the UK, in Hastings. So that is going to come in useful later. I forgot. So,
but you see what I mean, though? If I was Dee Dee, I would be like, I'm not talking to you unless you give me £50.
Cassie gets a phone call from Alina, who, for some reason, has decided to go with streetcars.
This was bonkers.
And so she goes and picks her up at the hotel, and she sees this boy who is obviously her grandson, but she doesn't know for sure at the moment. And she basically kidnaps Alina, takes her all the way back to the street, and Alina, you can tell, is panicking in the back of the cab at this point. She's like, no, don't bring me around here. Literally, the father of this child works in front of me and lives behind me, but Cassie's there honking the horn. Tyrone comes over and he sees Alina and this little cherubic kid. And
this kid is so
he's
cute.
very, very cute looking. Because he even had a few lines, didn't he? There was that scene, and I'd love to know whether this was outlived or not. The bit where Doran drops his teddy, and then Tyrone picks it up, passes it to Alina, and she kind of snatches it off of him. That couldn't have been planned.
Doran went, oh no, or something.
Yeah.
I love him.
But they couldn't have got the little kid to do that.
I love him. I want him.
I thought that was a great little
interaction. I also love, he's called Doran Pop, which sounds like a genre of music.
It does, doesn't it?
Like Doran
J-pop and K-pop.
No, I think Doran Pop is kind of like some kind of Hobbit-esque, kind of like inspired by Lord of the Rings music.
Even Doran sounds like it could be some kind of musical, like this is in the Dorinthian tone or something.
But it also sounds a bit like something from Great Expectations or something, like Doran was hungry so he needed some porridge.
Well, I did do a little Google of it, and Doran is a Romanian name. It's of Hebrew descent, apparently.
Okay.
And it does mean like golden gift or something.
Doran is the sort of name that it doesn't exist in this country, but it does sound like it could be English. Like Doran. It does sound like Doran Pippin Weatherwell.
I think that Coronation Street's thought process was Doran rhymes with foreign, that'll do.
Doran the foreign. But he is like anyone. I'd be happy to have him. I mean, he's not foreign. He was born in Hastings.
True.
That is down south, so obviously Northerners very suspicious.
Yes.
But
it might as well be foreign to the folk of Weatherfield.
Well, he's not that far away from hopping on a ferry, is he?
So anyway, they chased Alina down the street, and poor old Tyrone, he kind of bends down and has a look in the buggy, and it's like, hello. He's almost moved to tears by the fact that he's come face to face with his potential son, and they're kind of beating around the bush a little bit and about the fact that he's the dad, and then he asks her straight, look, is this kid mine? And she says, yes, he's yours. Now I have to go. You got what you wanted. And he says, look, please, just let me buy you a coffee. And
buy me a house.
And then so they go over to Roy's, and she's like saying, look, I knew that we couldn't be together. I didn't want to tell you about, I just needed, my own fresh start over in Romania. But then it turned out I couldn't stay there for too long because all the bad guys were there. So I came over to Britain, and I've been living it up in Hastings all this time, which was where Doran was born. So that's going to mean...
Of battle fame.
Yes. That's going to mean that it's a lot easier for Tyrone to get kind of rights or legal proceedings should it need to go down that route.
I'm gutted.
And I kind of hope it's not. I don't need this to be another legal story.
I'm gutted here for Doran because I think he should learn Romanian. I'd be mad if I had a kid he was...
Well, maybe she speaks to him in Romanian.
Well, he didn't speak Romanian today.
He knew that nobody else would understand him.
He needs to be bilingual to protect against dementia when he's old.
That's
the only reason to learn it.
That's why you're still plugging away on your Duolingo.
I'm doing my Duolingo, and I'm, level 22 in French.
Oh, Leanne would be jealous of that.
Exactly. I just look down on her, to be honest.
Anyway, she says, look, I've got to go. They have a little bit of a catch up about the fact that Tyrone and Fizz are married, and she says that it's safe for me in Romania now. These guys are in custody. They're not going to get me. This is my homeland after all. Old Granny Pop has been waiting there for me. And,
the borscht is burnt.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing they got in common, isn't it? Because Tyrone burnt a spag bol over on Wednesday's episode, and he's like, "How does anyone burn a spag bol?" And that made me think, I've done that once.
Aww.
One of my few meals that I have ever cooked was a burnt spag bol. So don't. Me and Tyrone have got a lot in common. we are also both size 8 shoes.
Yes, I noticed.
I could have played Tyrone if only that blasted Alan Halsall hadn't got in there first.
I think you would be a good, lovable, like, everyman.
Could you see me under a car?
No. I could see you under a car if I ran you over.
But he is acting as well, I suppose, and maybe I'd be able to summon the...
It's funny that I've never considered that Alan Halsall doesn't know how to fix a car, but now you've posed the question, I do wonder.
Mm-hmm. Anyway...
there you go. There is a... I know that the Coronation Street media team are doing lots of fun behind-the-scenes things, but I really think here's an idea for you. Get the actors who play Cassie, Tyrone, Kevin and Abby, and get them to fix a car or like point to what they think parts of the car are.
Yeah,
that would be really fun and good, and yeah.
Well, sometimes the actors do research their roles
but also,
and what it would
Michael,
entail.
Just to tell you that some men also do know what is in a car.
Really?
Without researching it because they're interested.
Anyway,
you'd be like, engine. No more questions.
That's where the water comes out, mate.
Oil goes there.
Perhaps. That's advanced, Gemma. Okay, so Tyrone is really upset, obviously, by this whole thing. She says she's going to go back to Romania and that's it. I'm going to come back in a couple of weeks because I got to read a victim impact statement, which I feel like I've heard more in the last 5 years on Coronation Street than I have ever in my life.
Is it a new thing?
I don't know. But if you need help with that, Alina, Brian Packham's your man. Anyway, Tyrone is saying, look, you got to stay. And so when he goes back home later, he reveals to Fizz that Alina's going to be crashing at the Chariot Square Hotel for 50 quid a night.
For it.
He's paying for it. And again, Fizz is... She's finding it difficult, but she's not flying off the handle. I love Fizz.
She's a better woman than I would be.
Yeah.
I'd say...
You'd be mad at this.
I'd say, Tyrone... She can stay here, and I'm going to the hotel.
If they can afford to drop £50 a night for Alina, then probably Fizz should be trying to sub Chesney, her brother, a couple of doors down, who are currently.
Well, no, they both said we'll have to do extra shifts and things, and that's their holiday money gone too, because £50 a night is not much. No, but it's not much for a holiday, is it? Like, where are they going to go that they can get £50 a night?
Oh yeah.
I don't know. But you tell me if you know where you can go for £50 a night for a decent hotel in this country. I'd be quite surprised.
Anyway, Tyrone is
good old Debbie for doing a deal.
Yeah. She's I said
she can do a deal for me if she wants.
So the girls get told about it. Hope's fuming.
Love Hope. Hope's mad. And Ruby's quite excited.
Well, yeah, this kid is more related to Ruby than Hope.
This is the thing. Number one, it's Ruby's half brother, but number two, it was always Hope that had the problem about Alina and Tyrone's relationship, because Ruby was a bit too young, and also is a different actress, so they didn't really give her as much to do. But Hope was the one who was murdering babies, for example, to try to get them...
setting cots on fire.
Yeah, so she's now like, well, we're back to square one again. What can I set fire to now? Chariot Square Hotel? Let me just phone my new boyfriend, Jack.
Chariots of fire. I don't know what else to add.
Well, there you go. She's not happy about it. She storms off.
I think she's also just a bit mad that she thought that she was going to be the one with the proper A story this week, and now Tyrone and Alina have come and budged her out. And now who's talking about Hope and Jack anymore? Nobody.
No one cares.
So Tyrone, Fizz and Evelyn are in the lounge later, and Fizz says, earlier on, when the girls were asking about how long Alina's staying, and you said it'd be, Chariot Square for a couple of weeks, you said that's the plan for the moment about Tyrone, about her only staying on to the end of the trial. Have you got designs on her staying any longer? And he's not committing about this. He says he doesn't want to say that he doesn't want to be part of their life, but Fizz, almost in his reluctance to say anything, has heard all that she needs to hear. And I think that her goodwill towards Alina being back was only ever going to be good for, firstly, the few days that she thought she was going to be here at the first time. And then it kind of stretched for, fine, I suppose we can make 2 weeks work. But if it's going to be any longer than this could cause problems. And Evelyn says to him at the end of the day, well, it may be that you've gained a son, but you've lost a family. Which is very true. And
this is a great story.
It's fab. I love it.
This is a great story. This is one of those universal human things that I've said that Coronation Street does really well. And it does really well with established characters, because all of these characters have been in it for donkey's years, apart from Cassie, Cassie, who's played by an established actress.
Yeah, Claire Sweeney.
Evelyn, who's been in it for 5 years, who's also a much more established actress than even Claire Sweeney. Alina's the new one. Doran, he's new in the world, so can't judge him. But this is like a family dynamic that's been in Coronation Street for a long time. And they're adding a new story to it, and this is something that, is not uncommon for affair babies to appear from nowhere. It's the drama. It's one of these things where I think it proves you don't have to reinvent the wheel.
It's also a story where there's, at the moment, no hospital drama. There's no kind of police or illegal drama.
Oh no, Doran has eaten something he shouldn't have eaten.
Yeah.
It's gone down the wrong way. We're going to have to take him to the hospital.
There's none of that. It is literally just family dynamic stuff,
yeah,
which I'm loving. Now, obviously, there's possibly police or criminal stuff on the periphery because Alina's said a bit in court about the traffickers.
Do you think there'll be revenge?
Who knows?
That would be interesting.
I don't particularly need that, but if there was, then it's like, well, who's Tyrone?
Thing to do, isn't it?
It is very much, so it wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, Tyrone's like, who's he going to save? I really.
Who's he gonna save? There's just a guy turns up to kidnap Doran,
Fizz or Doran?
And then he just pushes Fizz under a car. It's like, I don't know, I panicked. I thought it was you or him.
What do you think the best possible outcome for this is? Because I would feel, because I love Tyrone so much, I feel bad for him if he doesn't get to be a dad to his kid. But in order for that to happen, Alina has to stay, and I was when we heard that Alina was coming back, I was kind of excited because we've been talking about this for 3 years now. It was It have to happen at some point. But I remember I really, really loved Alina as a character when she first came in. She was beautifully sweet with Seb and kind of very innocent. And her second incarnation during the affair story, they made her to be a bit more of a femme fatale sort of and haughty. And she was also there was also the whole stuff with her being still very young and having being too young for Tyrone and him feeling like an old man with her.
Making him wear skinny jeans.
She, the kind of the fiery attitude that she now still has, she kind of got it the second time round. But I wish her well, and I don't need her. I don't want her to die.
I know,
so that Tyrone can keep hold of Doran.
It just feels like she's going to be another entry to the Weatherfield Dead Mothers Association.
Yeah, someone's going to pop a cap in Pop's ass. I don't think so. I really, really, really think they shouldn't do that. And I don't think that they will.
I don't know that they really care.
I think that they've got to realise at this point that they can't just keep killing off the mums. So I'm really in a tangle about what I want this to happen. Obviously, I don't want Tyrone and Alina to get together, because even if it makes this bit better, then it ruins everything with Hope and Fizz.
I kind of see this being maybe a bit like a Violet and Dylan scenario, where she sticks about perhaps for a year or two and then says, I can't deal with this, I'm going somewhere else. And then maybe in 10 years' time, if Tyrone is still in it, which I hope he would be, Doran comes back and goes, hello. I don't know. I really don't know. But the fact that I don't know makes me kind of interested and excited to watch it. This is the thing. Although there are only a few sort of scenarios that can really happen here, I am interested to see what happens.
Yeah.
But honestly, Doran is so cute.
But if they even think about splitting up Tyrone and Fizz again, I'm not going to be a happy viewer here.
But equally, if what perspective are you viewing this from? Are you kind of Tyroning this or Fizzing this or what?
I'm just in a mixture, because I totally feel for Fizz, and I'd like to think if I was in Fizz's situation, I'd also be reasonable, but there's only so much that can last.
If I'm fizzing it, I'm saying mine or not. Like, I'll adopt it, but I'm not sharing it. Get rid of it then. I'm horrible. But I'd love, having a new member of the family sounds great, but it's the complicated stuff and And like having Alina there is a constant reminder of the fact that your husband was just a stupid arse.
Yeah. Do you think that there's any chance whatsoever that Tyrone and Alina could get back together through this?
It will be, I think, perhaps through Fizz not being able to accept this at all.
And if she walks out with hope, then
how horrible
Tyrone...
for her as well to suddenly have this dumped on her.
Yeah. I think that I would like to think that Tyrone would remember that he and Alina weren't the greatest of couples. I would also like to think that in her few years of independence that she's had over the since 2021, that Alina might also realise that, you know, I can do better than Tyrone. Tyrone's not right for me. They don't.
And when I say fizzing it, and my reaction is like, you know, I'm going to keep the baby or not. It's if I was a soap character.
Of course, as always.
Because if I was a real person, I would have slightly more complicated thoughts on it. But
Anyway, I am very excited to see where this is going next.
Kevin's got community service.
Oh yeah, so we haven't mentioned that, have we? Kevin has got community service.
For punching Stefan.
Punching him, raiding his office. Let's all forget about that. No,
You're never going to see him doing it.
We've still got, I can't remember when
Jack.
it's supposed to happen. We've still got Jack up in court. Maybe that's going to be next week. There was also the stuff, as we're on tangential stories that don't really fit into anywhere else, there was all the whole stuff with Cassie and Steve going to a football match together, and are they getting closer? Who knows? And I loved the fact that Demi got a name drop, and it just made me get a little bit excited about maybe we haven't seen the last of Demi, but I think possibly we have, and it might just be, this might be something that pushes Steve on to maybe making a move on Cassie. I don't know.
I kind of want them to. I don't think that's a bad match.
It's not. The whole stealing a bust of Tommy Orpington caper did certainly warm me to the idea of those two being a couple.
Right.
We're staying in the classic horrors on ITV3 at the moment. Steve McDonald falling in love a little bit or getting his head turned by this Irish woman in the park, and it's so funny to see how kind of cool and not at all derpy Steve he is. And maybe there's an opportunity for that again. I don't know.
Is it just what happens to men? They either go suave or daft.
Yeah, maybe. Right, okay. We've spoken about this story far too long.
Sorry.
That's fine. It's been good.
Daddy Deering.
Daddy Deering. What's Joel and Betsy and Lauren and all that crowd been up to? All these fresh new faces on the street.
Right, on Monday, Dee Dee is worrying about this baby, and Joel's like still kind of mad that the baby survived his evil plans. And so she says, look, come with me to the hospital later to talk to Lauren. And he's trying to get out of it, but she says, we need to support her, we need to go. So then he sees Betsy in the cafe, and she's trying to blackmail him still, but he's not having any of it. Then we get Lauren, and she's still in the hospital, and she is being visited by Max and Bobby. And she's really upset. She thinks that it's her fault because of how stressed she was that she gave birth too early, and that this is why the child is in ICU or whether.
I mean, I assume they have gone past the point now that they'd be testing her blood or whatever and finding traces of this.
They wouldn't bother. You can't just test blood. You have to test it for something. And I don't know what they would... It's not like a woman is completely unprecedented that you would not go into an early... Especially if she said, I was really stressed out, and they were like, oh, well, we must test you for drugs.
Yeah,
I think it's gone. I think that's...
Well, it's definitely past
perhaps
by now,
this fictional drug perhaps might linger in your hair if they decide to eventually... find, Joel gets in trouble later, perhaps they could find traces of it in her hair or something. But don't need to worry about it at the moment. Max is very confused about the fact why she was locked in this flat by her mate, which is because she said she's staying with her friend.
Yeah, and he's like, I'd maybe like to meet you.
Can I meet this person? Are you going to live with her
Lauren
now
does
this
have
baby?
a bit of a thing for making up imaginary mates, doesn't she? Or he's probably thinking that at this point, because they were saying, this boyfriend that she had earlier on in the year, they thought it was a figment of her imagination, and now she's got this mate that she's talking about but they never see. I'd be getting suspicious if I was Max at this point.
Well, he sounds a bit suspicious. He's like, can I meet her? And she's like, no. Joel goes into the hospital to see Lauren, and he's brought a balloon with "It's a Boy" on it, and he's got this phone for her too, a new one, and she's not in the mood to see him.
I think when they're finished, she's like, somebody's like, when you finish with that, can I have it? So give it to Tyrone, please. Pass it around.
He's saying, I can help you. You don't understand what this is going to be like. I've had a child. Not that he was bloody there for this kid. And he says, I can help you. You're going to need support. But the question of the email remains, because she's set up this dead man switch whereby there's an email that she's written to Swain about all the things that Joel's done to her. And if she doesn't stop it from sending, it's going to send in a couple of weeks. And she's like, look, stop talking to me about this email. Let's go. What do you want to see your son? You know? Do you want to meet this child that is our child? So they go into the incubator, and this was a really touching scene because he starts welling up and he says, look, you can trust me, but you've got to delete this email. So she agrees, and she also says, I'll put you on the list of approved visitors.
So any possibilities that he's going to try and do anything nefarious to this baby to delete all the evidence is evaporated.
Delete,
now.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah, he's got a kid now, and he's got to.
It does feel like this is the scene where Joel has to let go of any kind of idea that he's going to be able to get rid of the baby because he's emotionally involved now. He may be a monster, but he's not the sort of monster who can stand over a crib and see a child and still decide that he's going to go through with whatever plan he had.
Yeah.
So Joel is saying, you've got to... Well, they're talking about registering the birth, and he says, I can't do it because I'm not going to be the dad. Like, you can't put me down as the dad. And this is when Lauren reveals the name, which I've been very excited to find out about, and I was quite surprised because it's Francis.
Yeah, we had 2 kid reveal names. Ty's son and now this one.
Francis is a very old-fashioned name. Immediately I think of Deadpool, the character Francis, who was Deadpool's enemy in the first film. But I also think of the name of the vicar in This Country, which was also brilliant. So I kind of connect it to comedic names, but Frankie is going to be his nickname, and Frances is named after her granddad. Then he gets really weird and says, oh, it's my granddad's name as well. And he's just like completely overwhelmed with emotion.
I've seen some people online, and I'm hoping that they did it they're saying it for a joke. They're saying, oh, is Joel's and Lauren's
granddad's the same.
I know we had that with Fanny, with Gail and George, with their joint ancestor.
It's not weird to both have your granddad have the same name, although Francis is a bit out there.
Yeah, I had because I think both of my granddads were called Alec, I had one that was Alec and one that was Albert, actually.
Both of my grandmas have the same name, so it's not weird.
They just had fewer names back then. Back when you couldn't call your child Khaleesi.
Yeah, I was going to say Khaleesi. Right, so...
You only had a few to draw from.
He's upset. He cries, and Dee Dee comes in and she's like, what are you crying about? And he's like, oh, I was just overcome with emotion. And she's like super touched by how moved he is by the plight of Lauren and her child. And he says,
she thinks she's found herself a sensitive man. What a dream.
That's how I know that you're on the up and up, because you never cry at anything.
No.
He says, I'm going to put her in touch with a woman's charity, which I assume is a cover for A, him talking to her, and B, why she suddenly got money or a flat or whatever it is that she's going to get out of him.
Yeah.
So, meanwhile, you get Max and Bobby in the cafe, and for some reason they're Googling baby survival rates, which is really grim.
That's the perfectly natural thing to do.
I know, but do it privately. Don't talk to people about how weird you're being. 50%.
50-50 chance that this Francis is going to survive. Yeah.
And they think he's going to be a survivor like Lauren. I thought that was just a bit too dark. I don't know why. I don't think it added anything. I don't think the baby's going to die.
No, it'll be fine.
Swain's here. I think it was partly so that Swain could overhear them saying about this baby, and she comes over and she's like, sorry, I know this is a private conversation, but you're talking really loudly. What is going on here? And she finds out not only has Lauren had a baby, but she was locked in the flat when she had it. So when Dee Dee and Joel go to visit Lauren again, Swain turns up and she wants a word. So they leave her with Swain and Lauren, and she's chatting to Lauren about what's happening, and she says, who's this mate, and also, do you want us to test the baby, because we can get Nathan on a charge if we can prove that he got you pregnant and you didn't, it was not consensual.
It's funny because the Nathan side of things really does feel like it's
irrelevant.
been dropped.
I don't care. I'm not interested. We haven't seen Nathan. If Nathan was in it still, I would care more.
Yeah, if we had scenes in the prison and Nathan was interacting with someone and we had any kind of emotional link to Nathan or investment in him as a character, but we don't.
I know the question might be like, in what way would that be dramatic? But you've still got Lauren's dad's gang in prison, and I can't see why they wouldn't beat the crap out of Nathan if they thought that he had got Lauren pregnant. And
are they still in the same prison? I can't remember now.
I mean, in Weatherfield, yes. Probably.
I thought that maybe Reese has been moved.
I know, but
so I don't know. But you're right.
That fictional.
It's that Swain, similarly to this story's got a lot of. Everyone cares about something for a while and then they don't, and it's like Lauren's back but now nobody cares. Roy's still over in Scarborough, and then every now and then somebody will reveal that they really, really care about something, and they're hoping that the viewers will get on board with this as well. And you're right, when Swain starts saying, but what about Nathan? I was like, oh yeah, just drop it, Swain.
I don't care.
But apparently she thinks that this evidence, this DNA evidence, could be enough to properly get him sent down.
Of course it wouldn't be.
Why?
Because that's not how the law works.
Well, if he's proven to be the kid's father.
Yes, it just proves two people had sex with each other. Sorry, but Michael,
it was help,
the conviction rates for rape are abysmal. It's not going to prove anything.
It doesn't prove that he whacked her over the head with a chair leg, I suppose.
It's perfectly capable for a mummy and daddy to love each other very much and make a baby, and also for the daddy to whack the woman over the head, the mummy over the head with a chair leg. So sadly, that's the world we live in. Right, so after the break, Lauren's like, no, I'm not going to focus on anything other than looking after Frankie. I don't want to do a DNA test. I don't want to get, I'm not bothered about Nathan. It's all over and done with. And Swain says, okay, but the baby, we can test whenever you want. And she gives a bit of a defeated look as she walks off. And I did, this is very macabre, but, I'm not the one giggling survival rates. I don't know whether Swain would have any power to test if Frankie were to die. Would she have any power to test the body for DNA to see whose DNA it was?
I think probably you'd still need the parents' consent.
I don't know.
I think that this should really be the test of how well Swain is suited to being a regular character. Because a police officer would be, it would probably do what she's doing. But a regular character would sneak in there and steal a hair or get a little blood or something. Yeah. Untoward, because she's got to do something that proves that she's not absolutely perfect in her job. So this is really the testing ground.
Yeah, she's got to be a bit of a renegade. Maybe she'll get Kit to do it.
Oh yeah, he'd do it, wouldn't he?
Kit will squeeze blood out of a stone, let alone a baby.
Yeah, then we can call the story DNA Kit. It just
which writes itself, doesn't it?
It does. Endless possibilities.
Right, so Swain's annoyed, but she's accepted this. Then we get Joel phoning Lauren, and she's not answering, and he's getting really mad because he's trying to contact her, but she's just brushing him off. But right as he's trying to get hold of her, Swain appears, and he's like, oh my, completely wrong-footed. And he gets, she has a professional chat with him because, as far as she's concerned, he's kind of a colleague of hers. He's the solicitor who's worked with Lauren in the past, and she's trying to say, look, you and Dee Dee are close with Lauren. Can you convince her, please? Because I want to get Nathan on this charge. And the only way to do it, I think, because she's refusing to give evidence, I need actual,
but there is
scientific
still
proof.
But there's the hair of Lauren's that was found in Nathan's van. Like, she's got DNA evidence there. I suppose that...
No, she has... Yeah, but Michael...
Extra will help.
Again, though... If you had a baby with somebody, your hair might be found in their car.
Yeah, maybe that's where the baby was conceived.
Exactly. Nothing. You need her evidence. Either it doesn't matter whether you find that Nathan's the father or not. I think she should just give up on this.
Do you think that the story is going to end with Joel being found and convicted and sent down, or is he going to be heading for the gallows? Do you reckon?
He's going to die.
I'm not sure.
I think he shouldn't.
I'm not convinced, because I don't see this story running too long. And I think if it was a long-running villain, then death is usually the only answer. But I think he might end up behind bars. And I think it would be quite, just desserts for him to end up in prison with maybe some of the people that he has sent there.
Yeah, I think so. I would love that. And I would also like the idea that...
Or help send there.
Eventually, Frankie would meet his dad.
Mm.
And I who knows under what circumstances. But so, the end of the episode, we see... Joel making a revelation, which is that Betsy is Swain's daughter because he sees them getting into a car together.
Yeah,
and her going, Mum, blah, 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 blah.
That didn't hit me too hard because it was just one of those, it's going to happen eventually kind of moments.
Well, no, but it's interesting because now his strategy is different. He was brushing her off as an annoyance, but now he's got a bit more to worry about, hasn't he?
Yeah, the story does move a bit away from Lauren and onto Betsy, I think, on Wednesday's episode. But this is another thing that I'm just not finding it that exciting. Like this guy who's being controlled by two women.
I know, the thing is about Betsy,
15 years younger than him.
Betsy and versus Joel is I'm not rooting for Betsy.
No, Betsy, there's just very little likeable about her. Well, so does Lauren.
Which is fine.
But Lauren, I think Lauren has got some kind of humanity to her that I'm just not particularly... But Betsy, I don't think we've been shown anything that's likeable about her. She's a real proper cheeky, nasty piece of work, and she's setting herself up as a bit of a partner to Mason as well, isn't she?
But I've said, morally ambiguous characters are where it's at for Coronation Street, but all they've done is introduced four of those people as new characters. So Joel, Betsy, Mason, and Lauren. I don't care. The thing is about a morally ambiguous character is that they've got to be charming or kind of interesting in some way. Or like have relationships on the street that kind of set them up as a bit more of an adversary, because at the end of the day, all of these people are new and therefore disposable. It's not like it was in the old day with Les, where he could be a racist or homophobe or just an antagonist, and you're like, oh, what will they do? They're not going to just get rid of Les because he's called somebody a rude word. He's going to stay on the street for as long as they want to keep the character in it. But, Betsy or any of these people could be brought down by one thing.
Yeah, Betsy really does feel quite disposable at the moment. And maybe she shouldn't, but I think also the fact that she is very much fitting into the mould of, Corrie have said it themselves, Becky and Kelly and, the list goes on. And all of these lovely blonde characters have not had very long shelf life. So I'm thinking, well, why should this be any different? For Lauren and for Betsy, they are literally the archetypical character of stay in for a few years and then bugger off.
And it's no reflection on the actors. It's just how they're being used.
Yeah.
So on Wednesday, we see Joel and he's scrolling through Lauren's socials and he's looking for some clues, or he's just obsessing over, like, how could I have missed this? I can't believe it. Trying to work out what else he can find out about her. And Dee Dee snatches the phone off him. Was he looking?
I couldn't remember whether he was looking at Betsy's socials or Lauren's socials.
Well, he was looking at somebody's.
They're both so similar, these characters.
Well, he's looking at. He's either pining over Lauren or like obsessing over her, or vice versa with Betsy.
He's doing something sneaky. It doesn't really matter what.
When Dee Dee takes his phone and he's like panicking, she's going to look at the screen. She doesn't. She's trying to convince him to go to a wedding fair, and then she's saying, "Oh, I wonder what why was Swain talking to Lauren yesterday?" And he says that I've got to go somewhere for work. And he goes to see Lauren again, and she's not pleased to see him. And he says, "Thank you for not going through with the DNA test. I will promise I'll help you with Frankie, and we're going to get you set up in Ireland as much as I can do." And she says, "Actually, no, I'm not going to Ireland anymore. They've got me a flat somewhere to some parents' block or something. And I'm moving there."
I thought it was more of a case of, oh, I don't need to come back to your flat, I'm just temporarily. I can't remember whether she's given up on the idea of Ireland yet.
And he says, "What was Swain asking you about?" And she tries to act coy. And he is not going to be he's kind of like been cowed by her because he knows she's got something on him. But I think he's got to the end of his tether here. He's being run circles by Betsy and Lauren, and he's losing all of his power.
Yeah, he must feel like a total fool at the moment.
He's losing control of the situation.
Yeah.
But he manages to intimidate her again.
Yeah, because she gets her breast pump out, doesn't she? And she,
Like,
as the cue to, you don't need to be here at the moment. And he looks like he's going to go, and then he kind of comes back and leans over her. And I quite liked that. I was like, yeah, Lauren, you do need to be taken down a peg or two, you mardy pal.
No, it's more like, I want this villain to be a villain again.
Yeah, and I think with all the Joel drama that I'm still not hugely invested in, Wednesday I was most invested in because he was particularly intimidating and sinister there, and in the scene later in the episode with Betsy in the villain's alley.
He's just getting sick of it. He's being dictated to by 2 teenage girls, and it's just not going to happen anymore.
And also, at the end of the day, Betsy doesn't really have anything over him. I mean, he doesn't want...
He came on to Gavin's sister. Sabrina. That's it.
Yeah, but she barely even saw that. The thing is, he has got more. He's got so much more to lose than Betsy realises.
Yeah.
But if he didn't have this other secret life, then he would not be marching to the beat of Betsy's drum. He'd just be like, no, you silly little girl. I was just talking to someone else in the park. But I suppose the longer that he's left it...
The more he gives her money, the more he's
digging himself a grave. Yeah, exactly.
So Betsy... Joel and Dee Dee are in Victoria Street, and Betsy kind of confronts them, and Dee Dee thinks that she's a client, and he says, I've got to go and talk to her. So he meets her alone, and she's like, give me £1,000. And he takes her into Villain's Alley, and he's like, no, I'm not going to give you any money. And she says, well, I'll tell Dee Dee that you're a perv. And he gets right into her face and says, what is it that you've told your mum about me? And she says, oh, no, nothing. And he says, look, if you don't back off soon, I'm gonna...
Your mum's going to be giving you a restraining order, basically.
And he grabs her by the wrist and he pushes her against the wall. And she gets really shaken.
I thought
she
that
runs
was very
away
well
crying.
done. I enjoyed that.
I thought this was great because she just suddenly realised how vulnerable she was, and she's been very cocky.
Both her and Lauren have been quite cocky in this, haven't they? And both of these two scenes made them realise that they're not as all
they're in danger.
Yeah.
And I think this is a scene that many women would probably recognise, where you kind of are... you are interacting with somebody on a level, on a human, on a communicative human level, and then maybe, I'm just going to come out and say it, a man shows you that he's stronger than you and he could actually cause you harm, and probably he could kill them.
Yeah.
And suddenly the biological reality of the danger that she's in comes to her all at once, and she's kind of like... She's like an animal in the savannah, like seeing a lion coming at her all of a sudden. She thought she was a lion, but she's not. She's a gazelle. And she realises that she's in over her head. She's not just being outmatched in a social sense, but in a really physical sense.
It makes me wonder whether she is going to back off or not, because we didn't see any of her on Friday, I don't think, did we?
Well, she's going to be shaken, but I do think she'll rally and kind of come back at him, but...
it's funny that like Lauren and Betsy, they don't know each other at all, do they?
And
if only those two could put their heads together. And I wonder whether that's going to be a future storyline development.
I'd much rather that happened.
The two girls taking
the two
down.
victims.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he's assaulted her now.
Yeah.
He's grabbed her and physically pushed her around. Mm. I mean, she's been blackmailing him, so, tit for tat. So Joel gets home and Dee Dee's saying, oh, about that client earlier. And he's like, no, she is not my client anymore. She's actually Swain's daughter and I've just been helping her out. She got herself into a bit of trouble. And Dee Dee's like, oh, that's, you just fibbing. And she says, she was at our engagement bill, wasn't she? And he says... look, I'm trying to get rid of her, but she's a bit, hard to shake.
I like that Dee Dee called him out on his lying. She was still being quite pleasant about it, but she was kind of hinting, don't you lie to me.
Well, I think he's now being conscious of the fact that she's not as easy to kid along as he has thought she might be.
Yeah.
And she thinks Betsy's got a crush on him and it's kind of cute and funny, but he says... Yeah, okay, but I'm not going to answer her text anymore. But anyway, I know you wanted to go to where was it? That place I couldn't work out what she's saying.
Oh yeah.
She said, I'm going to get a tent in somewhere. But she wants to really go to Mauritius, and he's managed to sort them out a honeymoon there. Good.
I don't think they're going to be making it to Mauritius.
No.
I kind of need this to all be over
by the end of the year.
No, the wedding is set for late September, isn't it? And in my head, because I'm still not fully invested in this story, and I think I don't believe I'm going to be now, I kind of am happy for it to run until the wedding, and I sort of want it to be over then. But who knows? Corrie villains have outlasted, have gone longer than that in the past.
Right, so Joel's like, right, symbolically throw my phone away with the SIM card, so I'm not going to be able to, whatever. On Friday, Max is gone to visit Lauren, and she's getting text from Joel that she's just deleting, and he says, I've got a 2-for-1 offer at the bistro, come with me. So they do go, and Amy there is fresh from the cult, and she's all full of
life advice, hand on the shoulder,
brainwashed happiness, and asks Lauren how she is and how the baby is. And Lauren and Joel and Dee Dee come in, and they're having lunch at the same time because this offer is just, why would you pass it up? 2-for-1. And Max notices that Lauren's giving Joel a look, and he asks Lauren if Nathan knows about the baby, and she says, actually no, it wasn't him who was the father of the child, and we're all in suspense until she says, no, it's just some random person. I don't even know who it was, and she changes the subject. And meanwhile, Joel is on the other table with Dee Dee just completely distracted and going, oh, sorry, I'm not paying attention. But, Emily, that bitch, she wants money off me for my other child. I mean, the only child. And Dee Dee's like, oh, okay, that's fine. I'm going to go and see Lauren later. So back in the hospital, Joel's come to see Lauren again, going, what was you talking to Max about? And she said, I told him that it wasn't Nathan who's the dad, but don't worry, I've just made up that it's somebody I don't know. And then she says, get me this stuff from the shop, please. And he says, I'm not your servant, I'm not doing what you want. And she says, I think he might be. And he has to go off with his tail between his legs as her little lackey getting the list of shopping for her.
The eclairs, probably.
She loves them.
Yeah.
You need the calcium as a pregnant and recently having birthed mother.
Well, if you use that breast pump, you gotta fill it up somehow.
No, you went too far again.
Did I?
So now we know that Joel knows about Betsy. I think maybe Joel is going to try to get Betsy in trouble and tell Swain about it, to try to get her off his back somehow.
Yeah, I wonder how much Betsy is going to back down after the little frightening in the alley, and that's what he needs to.
Well, there's two reactions. There's either I'm going to steer clear of you because I'm in over my head, or you have no right to make me scared like that. I'm going to get revenge.
I think she might be licking her wounds for a bit and then come back twice as strong.
Well, I don't know. Do Joel and Kit know each other? I don't know, but that's Betsy's Achilles heel, is that she has actually done something else that she shouldn't have done. And if Joel can find out from Kit about that, he might tell Swain, and that might get Betsy off his back. But equally, she might be up to more dodge things that he can get her on. So I think that will be Joel's play.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what else there is to say about this.
I'm wondering whether Joel should just risk telling Dee Dee when he was.
Are you kidding me?
No, just about the Betsy side of things.
Oh, the Betsy. What? Oh.
Because when he was telling her, oh, well, Betsy's actually Swain's daughter, I thought that he was going to say she's been hounding me. She thinks that she's got something on me. She's calling me a perv, but literally all I was doing was talking, that Sabrina girl, I was just talking to her.
Yeah, but he could lie again and say, Joel, look, Betsy saw me with Lauren, and now she's saying that I'm a perv. Because that would work just as well. And then Dee Dee would say, oh, how awful.
But I suppose Dee Dee is the sort that would then go and confront the girl,
her,
and the girl she'd say, well, he's been giving me all this money. Why would he be doing this if he was innocent? So yeah, maybe a confession's not the best.
I don't know how to be a villainous soap character.
He's got himself into a bit of a corner, really, hasn't?
What a pickle!
Hasn't our Joel?
I know, but I think he's gonna twist on the end of this, and until the finale.
The wedding, at least. Yeah.
He's safe
I
at the
want to
moment.
see him getting a bit more desperate because, like you said earlier, I'm wanting to see him be a proper villain rather than someone who's just a bit desperate going from one thing to another.
He's just being manipulated by teenage girls, which is just kind of, I think many middle-aged dads could just kind of sympathise with.
I want him to do something that's going to make me go, oh, I can't believe you did that.
I mean, he did try to kill a baby.
Yeah, I suppose.
Just the other week.
He tried to. Yeah, I suppose so. Well, I don't know what I want. I just can't.
No, but I agree with you. I as twisted as it seems, and you can be uncharitable about reading whatever you want into this, but it was really good to see him assert his villainy over both Lauren and Betsy, because they have been running rings around him, and when you have a villain in a soap, you want them to be a powerful villain who feels like an adversary, not a pushover who takes a shopping list down the precinct.
But equally, I would also be...
What's the point of a villain that's easy to manipulate?
I would be happy enough if they decided to just put this story on ice for a few weeks. It's got to happen at some point. It feels like it's been going for a little while. Yeah, exactly.
And now Betsy
they could
also
afford to give it a rest.
Has her own other side story, doesn't she, with Mason?
Yeah. I was just also going to
I
say...
thought we were going to
No, that was
segue.
a very nice segue. Max being involved in it, Max and Lauren getting back together, potentially.
Max and Lauren and Bobby.
I think Bobby's kind of been dropped from this, but Max seems to be definitely getting a bit closer to Lauren now.
Bobby's just should be grateful that nobody's bringing up the whole jacket man.
I wonder
again.
Yeah. I wonder whether Max could end up getting himself in danger with Joel potentially.
I mean, here's the question: of all these characters, apart from Dee Dee, Max is going to be the one who's got the staying power.
Yeah.
Is Max going to be holding Frankie, the baby, at the end of this alone after Lauren, Joel, and everybody else is long gone?
I don't know.
Is Frankie going to be an honorary Platt?
No, I think that.
Really?
I think that.
The
I don't know whether she's.
Association is recruiting actively. Alina's looking like a likely pledge.
I don't know whether she's
Lauren's
going off to Ireland, but I think that Lauren might disappear.
Do you think
she might
Frankie's got any?
Nah.
No.
No, I don't think that Frankie's got a long-term future on the street. I think it's going to be more of a Zach Rubenstein kind of baby that disappears off and maybe gets visited. Not that Joel's going to be visiting him, because he's going to be in the slammer or the grave in 6 months' time, possibly. But okay, so back to your segue and what else is Betsy getting up to? Well, she is getting herself involved with Mason.
Well, she's advised him, hasn't she, on blackmail?
Yeah. Well, isn't that what she... No, that's what she does on Monday's episode.
Right.
Because they meet up, and I think this is... Was this the first scene that they'd had with each other? I can't remember.
They know each other.
Yeah, they know each other and is clearly pleased to see him.
Oh, yeah, she says, Mason wrongin' name, as I live and breathe.
Yeah, that's it. So clearly they know each other from school
What kind of a weird...
the local youth club.
What has... Look, I don't want to blame the parents here, but what the hell has Swain done to this child? She's raised her as a police officer's child, and she's like completely at home with villains. As a child,
She's just rebelling, isn't she?
when you were a kid, though, there were rough kids at school, right? Even your fancy pants school that you went to.
Yes, my grammar school.
Would you not be scared of them? Why is she not scared of Mason?
Because she thinks she's like him.
She's cocky, isn't she?
She's attracted to
villainy,
to the charisma and charm of villainousness, clearly. And so she steals some sandwiches later on in the shop.
But it's not. But Michael, it's not like he's a scamp.
No, I know.
He's not a scamp. He's not a lovable scamp. He's not a Graham Proctor or a Dennis Tanner.
He's got a zombie knife.
He's an actual violent criminal. And she's like, "Oh, fancy seeing you in the cafe." I'd be like, it'd be like a western. I'd be out the saloon doors.
She's thinking
riding my horse into the sunset.
She's thinking my mum would be having kittens if she knew that I was sharing a sweet enough milkshake with Mason. This is brilliant.
She's
and
such a
stealing a BLT for him from the corner shop. Yeah, she does that, doesn't she? And Stu runs out. There's a bit of a lackluster, "Hey, Mason," because he sees him in the ginnel as well. And then he tracks them both down to the precinct.
Well, hang on, we've skipped ahead.
What?
Mason and Betsy meet in the cafe. She knows him. She knows that he needs food. She steals a sandwich from the corner shop, and Stu chases her.
Yeah. soon Stu is left with Mason because Betsy's disappeared off, and he's saying, "How are you doing after we remember we had a story last filming block. How's it going now? Do you want to come and stay at our place tonight?" And he's like "No."
Weirdo pervert. I'm not staying at your house.
Yeah, I do find it hilarious how Mason is just like, "No, you massive perv," throughout all of this.
Well, I encourage young people to be vigilant at all times.
Oh, that's true. So yeah, it's the end of that episode where Mason and Betsy are together and sweet enough, and she's saying, "Look, this guy is offering you this a load of stuff on a plate. Take advantage of him,
And
drain him dry,
you can, yeah.
basically." And he's like, "Yes, you're right."
Aubergine Dahl's just the beginning.
I don't think either of these two characters particularly got staying power, but as a wrong-un couple, I think that they're quite fun.
That was the most fun they have been.
Yeah.
That scene with them two outside Sweet Enough, I do think there's potential there.
I don't think that we've had a couple of villains like this together. So
not since, I think, maybe Janice and Les came in together,
and they're not the same kind of thing. I mean, they weren't. They were scamps. They were grown-up scamps.
But I think Betsy is more of a scamp. And I think...
No, she's bloody blackmailing everybody.
But but that's not... Who's that hurting? Like, Mason is a violent thug. Mason, do you not think so? She's just...
I think he is another level higher than her.
She's over her head. She's still redeemable. She's still, a Kelly Nealon.
She just sees herself as some mole. She's like, Gemma was lusting after Callum all those years ago.
So the men always get violent and they don't come to good, but the women are redeemable. That's just how Corrie is.
Anyway, so Wednesday's episode comes by, and then Mason bobs across to Speed Daal saying, "I've changed your mind, do need your help, give me some money." And he doesn't want a job for it, does he? He just says, "Just give me £20, Stu, go on, I'll pay you back."
No.
And Stu says, "No, you got to do some work to earn it, like, just washing pots." And Yasmin pops up from the kitchen and says, "No way is this guy, not after the ear bending that we got from Sean last time we had him here, no way." And Stu is very persuasive, Yasmin relents, and the next thing you know, Mason's there clearing tables in Speed Daal. So
I have to say, as far as blackmail and criminal schemes go, working for a wage is not very high.
He will, gets
I mean, it's not like he's a banker getting like millions of pounds as a bonus at the end of the year after you tanked the economy. It's not quite the same thing, is it? It's literally working for a living, which is what we all do.
So Stu knows that this is going to be a bit of a thorny issue with Sean, so he goes around the precinct flat and says, with a dessert there to try and appease him, and says, "Look, I've given Mason a job, sorry." And obviously Sean and Dylan's reaction is as expected. Sean flies off the handle, Dylan's terrified, and he sends Stu on his way.
Can I give a shout out to the set designers?
I would love to give a shout out
for
to
Sean's
set designers.
flat. I loved it.
I loved it.
Great.
And I think this is the first time that Sean has ever had the opportunity.
Yeah.
No, I think it's the ever chance he's had an opportunity to decorate.
His personality in his space.
Yeah, because he's lodged with Eileen for so long, and he stayed with Billy for a little bit.
You said he's never had his own place.
I don't think he has.
Bless him. I love the fact
apart from his tent.
Where did he get all this crap from?
Home sense. It looked like that sort of thing.
Not crap. I think it was great. It was very Sean. I thought I'd love to live there. It looked friendly and fun.
Alina would love it. There were slogans all over the wall.
Everything that could have a slogan on it had one. It had "When life gives you lemons, get gin and tonic" or something. Had "Not sorry." It had a Canal Street sign in the kitchen.
Yeah.
There was embroidery. There was pillows. There was plants. There was macrame. I loved it. There was beautiful colours on the wall. There was prints everywhere. Brilliant.
I really
it was a nice
that.
it was because Coronation Street does like dingy and swanky, and this was one of those nice in between ones.
I don't imagine that Dylan would have thought much of it.
I don't think Dylan's bringing his girlfriend back.
No. Maybe that's Sean's ploy.
Maybe. It was very Sean, and I thought I loved it. I love to see Sean get his own place after, like you said, 20 years?
I think it could have been a little bit more extravagant. This is a man who wears peacock feathers on his shoulders. It didn't go that far.
You don't know what his bedroom looked like?
No, I don't want to know.
It's probably like Austin Powers on the plane where it revolves and all the lights come out.
Or he's gone full on Reg Holsworth and got himself a waterbed in there.
Or it's like a bit of a Bet Lynch and it's just leopard print from wall to wall.
Maybe.
I loved it. Good old Sean.
I really enjoyed it. I don't imagine we're going to be seeing that flat a whole lot.
I liked all the embroidery and the fabrics and the pillows because of his, his job as a working as a seamster. What do you call it?
Well, if you can call a lady actor an actor, then you can call a male seamstress a seamstress. I think
it is very progressive to say Sean is a seamstress and a barmaid.
He'd probably call it himself anyway, wouldn't he? Yeah. He says he's one of the girls.
He is.
Anyway, so Dylan finds Gary and Liam in the cafe later because Stu's told Sean, look, don't tell Gary and Maria until I get a chance to. But unfortunately, he didn't make Dylan swear the same thing. So Dylan goes right round and tells them what's what. Gary heads straight over to Speed Daal and gives Mason a very stern warning. And Mason's there on a bit of a bop with his AirPods in, isn't he? And Gary grabs him by the shoulder, spins him round and tells him, if I see you around here again, I'm going to shove your earbuds so far down your throat that you'll play music out of you. And I wish they'd finished off that story with a suitable euphemism for us.
I'm sure there is a lot of
colourful
northern words he could have used.
Yeah, but never mind, I enjoyed that. And then Stu and Yasmin arrive and tell him to leave him alone. Stu's there as armed with a ladle, and that's enough to put the frighteners on Gary, and he heads off. Dylan comes and kind of drags him away eventually, doesn't he? He's saying to Stu and Yasmin that you don't realise how dangerous this guy is. He's had a knife. He's a bully. He's not just the. And
he's gone beyond any
chance of redemption here.
Bullying is one of those things that's on a spectrum, isn't it? And bullying could be teasing and making fun of somebody in a way they don't like, and bullying, it could be all the way to where he is, where he's literally nearly driven somebody to end their own lives.
I still don't think, honestly, that Mason is beyond redemption. He is still young, and I know he's been absolutely vile, but he's been like the head of a gang, and he's had the reputation to uphold here. I think if he really, really, really wanted to turn his life around, he could. And I would find that kind of interesting, to be honest, because they didn't go that way with Corey.
Like Aaron, I think Coronation Street has got some lines that you can't cross, and I think. He's
got the villain label on his head now.
There's definitely, it's an admirable thing to say that nobody's beyond redemption if you truly regret what you've done and you've taken steps to change yourself, and you're not going to be that person.
Especially
again.
when they're giving him these violent brothers.
But he's just
he's
a dickhead. What's he done that's any good here? Nothing. He's washing pots. I'd do that. Don't make me a good person.
I think I'd just like to imagine that he gets resumed, but yeah, he's clearly not. The only reason he's working here is because he's trying to. It's a bit of a long con, but he's going to.
He's trying to milk them for all they've got.
Yeah. So Gary's off on his way. He has a bit of a scuffle with Mason.
Gary's like, I've killed men that were more wet than you in the woods. Watch your back.
Yeah, you ever heard of Rick Neelan?
No, you haven't.
Ever heard of
dead.
Rana Habib? Well, maybe you should look her up.
Mincemeat, mate.
And Sean's like, you called?
She's a wet stain on the floor in the factory.
Right, so do you think she has left a mark there?
Let's not talk about it.
So Betsy finds Mason in Speed Daal later, and she's like, I can't believe that you actually... This wasn't the plan for you to gain employment here. You're supposed to be...
You don't understand criminal activity.
No, they have a bit of a flirty banter together, which, again, because I quite like them as a duo, I appreciated that. And he tells her about Gary coming in.
These two are more than the sum of their parts when they get together.
Yeah, for sure. Mm-hmm. So she's kind of... goes, oh, okay, I like the sound of you being a bad boy, Mason. Next stop, she goes and finds Dylan in the precinct, has a bit of a go at him for getting Mason sent down. Like, he's my mate. She's already defending this guy who she's potentially looking at as boyfriend material here.
Do you think that Swain's going to slap her on the face?
Maybe.
I think she might get a slap.
I don't know.
And then Swain will have to hand herself in to Tinker.
Who have we had? I'm sure
for assault.
Deirdre has slapped Tracy in the past.
Yeah.
I think it was after the Rotten Cow and Tart.
I think Betsy's earned herself a slap.
But I don't think you're allowed to say that these days.
What do you mean? This is fictional.
I mean,
this is a soap.
People cheered when Daniel pushed Max down the stairs, didn't they? Even though we know we're not really supposed to do that.
I'm not saying in real life, although I think a good slap can solve many a dispute.
God, I better watch what I say around you. I don't think they would. I don't think they'd do it. No,
they would, because I think this is because Swain is just so uptight, isn't she? She's so controlled and meticulous, and she's to the book, right? But she's got this daughter who's completely uncontrollable, and she's tried everything she can do, and at the end of the day, her giving her a slap, I think, would be a really interesting character moment for Swain, because now I'm a criminal.
You see that she really wants to. In the few interactions we've had between Swain and Betsy, there's been a couple of
frustrated.
Get in that bloody car now.
What would you do as a police officer?
Yeah, I mean, not everybody is going to resort to a slap, but you're right. She is so wound up that it wouldn't surprise me. But then I don't know whether Corrie would go that way. I mean, people have been forgiven for slaps. I mean,
Michael, you're talking about a slap like it's setting off a nuclear bomb over Japan. I think it's
still hitting a child, though, isn't it? But I suppose Beth's recovered from when she did it last year.
She's 16.
Give her a few years.
She's 16 years old. It's a soap. I'm not. You're acting like I'm advocating child abuse.
No,
it's a soap. I think a good slap would be I think right. It's one of those things where, because Betsy is an annoying character, I think it would be one of those things that might set her on a different path, because suddenly you get sympathy for her. And if they played it in a certain way, you would realise. I think they could do this where, in a scene where Swain loses her temper and slaps Betsy, gives Betsy a slap, you might have a cathartic moment where Swain says, I'm sorry I did that, but I don't know how to reach you. And then everything that Betsy is holding inside of her, this resentment, because we've had this established background to her character where she's grieving, she's being expected to move on. She's Swain's old partner, who I don't know if it's the mum or what the relationship is with Betsy. I can't remember if we've been told or not.
Yeah, I think it is just the
It could be that Betsy is actually not Swain's biological child. And
I don't think it's
I don't know. But Betsy's being asked to move on with her life after one of her mothers has died. And she's moving house, and she's at a very tumultuous time in her development as a teenage girl. She's looking for something. She's looking for I don't know what. And if she was slapped around the face by the one person she always thought that she could rely upon to put up with her, that would be a breaking point and a kind of pivotal moment for her to realise that there is a limit. Maybe you can grieve and be upset and act out, but you can't.
That does actually sound quite good, but I think it'd be much more in Betsy's character to then just blackmail her mum.
Report her to the...
Exactly. Or not report her, but thinking of all the things that she could get her to do.
How about the next scene is Craig Tinker, arresting Swain for abusing a child. Yeah. Because that could happen.
Yeah, I think...
There's a lot of potential here for proper drama.
Yeah, I think Betsy would be more likely to say, right, Mum, I've got you in my pocket now. And even maybe trying to get her to look the other way when Mason is up to no good.
Betsy's a very interesting character.
If you're going to be a main character, Swain, sorry, you got to get your hands dirty a little bit.
As much as I find Betsy insufferable, I'm going to say that she is a very good catalyst for stories.
Yeah.
And I think, the actress, I don't know her name.
I cannot remember.
Doing a really good job. Really, really good job. She is perfectly, I believe, absolutely 100%. She's an insufferable toe rag. Great. Good work.
I still have the thing of that I don't know whether I want to see two insufferable toe rags in her, and I know Lauren's not quite the same, but Those characters are too similar at the moment.
Look at Max, you know. Max we could have throttled him, you know, for a long time when he was in it. And now he's just like he might as well be wearing a monk's habit and walking around going, "Hello, Brother Bobby, what have we done today to redeem ourselves of our past sins?"
He's a big softie, isn't he?
He is a big softie.
But that's funny because he was always a big softie when Harry McDermott played him, and then they tried to make him hard for a little bit. But anyway, Friday we get a little bit more of this story. Sean's got a day off his many jobs.
Desperately trying to bond with Dylan, but again, Dylan is just like, I don't, yeah.
But anyway, they're walking down Victoria Street later and they see Mason holding this tray of vegetables going inside Speed Daal, and Sean's like, right, what's going on there then?
And Mason's like, some of these are emojis.
He strides off towards Speed Daal, does Sean, marches straight down the steps. It feels a bit deja vu, this scene, really. As much as I love a Sean rant, and I still think that Anthony Cotton is great at them, it was a bit of, we've seen it before. I'm going to let everybody know what kind of business you and Yasmin run, Stu, what kind of people you employ. You're not fooling anybody.
Can I just say, if Sean expects everybody who works in a kitchen to be incredibly morally upstanding, I don't think he'd eat another aubergine dal in his life.
Oh, this is where I got mistaken earlier when I said that Dylan dragged Gary away. Of course he didn't. I was conflating it in my brain. This is Dylan dragged Sean away. Those poor customers, or are they poor customers at Speed Daal? It's like dinner and a show, isn't it?
Yeah.
Maybe that's how they get their repeat customers.
Here's a question: us Brits, when somebody drops something in a restaurant, always like to cheer.
We do. We love it.
If you smash a plate or something, we go hooray! If somebody has a proper fight in a restaurant, what do? Do you sort of like stand and clap or?
Pick a side.
Yeah, go on, punch him.
Go on, Sean.
Go on, tell him what they've done to that poor child.
Anyway, Sean starts posting around on social media later about what a bunch of deluded do-gooders Yasmin and Stu are. He doesn't give them a 1-star review. But anyway, Stu is saying, look, Yasmin, honestly, this Mason, he can turn his life round, I promise. And she says, if you think you can, then I will believe in you. So he's totally deluded, as am I.
Do you think Mason? You do think he? I don't think so.
Clearly, at the moment, he's not. He is. I don't know what he's gonna do. But eventually he's going to show his true colours to Stu, whether it's, just stealing from the till, which is a bit of a easy way to write it. The thing about Stu,
this could be a real sad moment for Stu, because he was embroiled with his wife and her mum and the murder or whatever, where he got himself in trouble.
Yeah.
And because he saw the good in somebody who wasn't actually a good person. And with this, is he now going to think to himself, actually, I'm a terrible judge of character?
Well, he's one of the reasons why he's fighting Mason's corner so hard is because he was wrongly accused all this time.
But Mason isn't wrongly accused. He did exactly what. I mean, his perspective is he's done his time and now he's on the streets.
Yes, that's it. Yeah, Mason has served his sentence.
At the end of the day, what do we want of people who've been in prison?
What do you mean?
Like, if you've gone to prison and you've served the sentence that was handed to you by court, what do we want you to do after that? What, forever just walk around with a scarlet letter on your forehead?
Yeah, so Stu, in some ways, Stu isn't wrong.
Stu's right, but at the same time, you don't need to make your life round the corner from the person that you terrorised.
Well, that is the Coronation Street way, isn't it?
Have a bit of humility and realise that perhaps you're not helping the situation. If you truly are sorry, perhaps bugger off somewhere else, like Leicester, maybe.
Well, there are only 2 restaurants in the whole of Weatherfield at the moment, aren't there?
Well, and if you want to work, if you want to look at the bistro, you've got to join a cult.
Right, so that was that story, and now onto Betsy's other story that she's involved in with Beth.
Betsy's been in
Counterfeit.
3 stories now.
Yeah.
What a woman.
Yeah, I still feel like I don't really know much about her other than she was a good blackmail.
Right, Beth gets shirty. So on Monday, Izzy finds Beth in the cafe and they're concerned because, as we all recall, the counterfeit t-shirts got taken by Kirk accidentally to another place where they were delivered with the underworld goods, and then Carla was informed that these had arrived. She was suspicious, she confronted everybody, and Beth quit. because she was so offended that she was accused
And
of
his
doing
T-shirts are
exactly
still winging
what
their
she
way
did.
back to Underworld on Monday.
And Izzy and Betsy were both involved in this plot to earn money on the side. And Izzy's fretting. This is why I would not get Izzy involved. I know she's a good criminal because she's done many criminal things in the past, but she falls apart when it all comes out. So she's panicking, and Beth's trying to sort of, don't worry about it. The box gets delivered back, but luckily Izzy and Beth are right by the door as they come in.
Yeah,
and
we
so
get
they
a rare
intercept.
appearance from Sally.
Sally's like, I should take this because I used to be the supervisor. And they're like, no, not anymore. It's mine. Beth rushes out with it. And Izzy then has a box of decoy T-shirts that kind of like cover for what they were up to. So Craig and Kit then see Beth handing the T-shirts over to the dodgy bloke that she's done the deal
Sid.
with in Villains Alley. So both in police mode here. And Beth trying to defend herself, but Kit is not very impressed because it's obvious that they're counterfeit.
I don't really know why Craig and Kit were walking down. It's like the CID officer doesn't really need to go on the beat with plots tinker, does
Kit's kind of attached himself to Craig because he hates him, and he's trying to find evidence.
he? He's also going to be doing some blackmailing, isn't he?
Yeah, so maybe they were going for a pint or something. I don't know. Or maybe they just been to Sainsbury's.
Well, Craig still had his police uniform on, didn't he? So
Maybe
he was on duty.
Maybe Kit was buying a Trevor, and Craig was buying a Connie.
Maybe.
At the Argos.
Yeah, it's not opened yet.
Well, that's probably why they were walking the other direction. Right, so Beth and Craig are in the cafe later, and they're both pretty mad at each other. And Craig realises now that he's been given money by Beth to put in his account that is probably from the counterfeiting. And she's like, well, not sorry, really. I mean, how is a woman supposed to earn money around this place? I can't start a cult,
she doesn't
can I?
do very much to...
Well, she's like, I don't really care.
Yeah.
This is Beth's unrepentant criminal streak. It's like, who's it hurting? I just used. No one was in the factory. No one cares. They're knockoffs. Who wants to pay £100 for a Chanel t-shirt anyway? Whatever. I didn't do anything wrong.
But the fact that how much she loves Craig, you'd have thought that she might understand a little bit more that she's really screwed up here. But yeah, you're right. She was very unrepentant.
Yeah. So in the pub, Kit and Craig are having a drink together, and Kit says, the bloke, I let him off because I didn't want your mum to get in trouble. It's the only way to get her out of this. And so now he set this up that Craig goes in my favour. And Craig starts to sort of like say thank you. And then he spills his guts about the fact that he's been given this money from Beth to look after in his account. And he's like, am I a money launderer? And Kit's like, don't worry. But he's secretly thinking, excellent.
Another one to put in
Another notch on my bedpost of criminal activity by Craig Tinker. So then we see another motivation for Kit to get involved in this because he's cut himself in on the deal. He meets up with Sid, the counterfeiter, in the Ginnel later, gives him back the T-shirts and says, I'm not going to get you in trouble, but I want half of it. Thanks very much. And you've got to cut Beth out, please.
Does he really is he that strapped for cash that he needs to potentially risk his career by getting involved in a
He's already
T-shirt
done so many
counterfeiter?
things.
And how much can you get from this?
Apparently lots of money. Everyone's in on this scam. And it's literally one box of T-shirts. I think you could earn more selling your old crap on eBay than after you've cut everybody in on this. I mean, eBay and PayPal take enough as it is. Well, to him it's the same as finding a fiver on the floor, isn't it? You should turn it in, but why would I when I could just keep it for myself?
Very risky business, Kit.
Well, Kit's going to come to a sticky end, I think. Another new
first?
character.
Him and Joel. Him or Joel?
Joel, Beth. Well, Joel, Mason, Betsy, Lauren, and Kit. Who are the new characters who aren't up to no good? Who's the newest person outside? Is it Dee Dee? Regular character.
Jodie Prenger, of course.
Yeah, but those are like all the new regulars, aren't they? They're all up to get their fingers dirty in some kind of hideous criminal pie.
Rowan.
Yes.
Another wrong one.
Right, so on Wednesday, Beth finds Craig in the cafe and tells him, don't worry about me being in trouble. The job's off. I'm not doing anything wrong again. I'm going to get my job back at the factory. But Craig doesn't really want to forgive her, but says, I'm not going to tell Kirk about what you're up to. But he's still in a mood. Beth goes crawling back to Carla for her job, and Carla's like, oh, but are you going to tell me what you were really up to? And Beth denies everything. And Carla says, well, I'm going to ask Kirk what then, because he probably knows. So Beth spills the beans, but says it was only me that was involved, so she doesn't implicate anybody else. And Carla says, in that case, I can't trust you. You're using my factory to do criminal acts. Only I'm allowed to do that. You're fired. You're not getting your job back. So later in the day, Kirk and Beth are in the pub, and he can see she's upset about something, and she says to him, I didn't get the job I was going for. And he says, it doesn't really matter, you get another one, it's fine. And then Craig comes in, blanks her. So Beth sidles over to him for forgiveness and says she'll sort everything out, and he says, you need to tell Kirk what you're up to.
So this story is not particularly engaging me at the moment. I think it's because it's a Beth story, it doesn't help. And I know that I've been saying earlier, you know, let's get these characters that we've been in the show a long time that we're invested in, and here we have Kirk and Beth potentially on the cusp of a breakdown in their relationship, and I'm just not finding it too interesting. I don't... It's because it's being sold as a bit of a C story, isn't it?
It just feels another one of the factory stories. Like, we've had Counterfeit. I'm sure people have done stuff they shouldn't have done.
It's another criminal story, and there's only so much. You know, this is a criminal story.
Criminal.
The Mason one's a criminal story. The Joel story's a criminal story. There's only so much that I can get excited by the potential of arrests and...
Michael, do you want criminals or do you want affairs? Because those are the two flavours of Coronation Street Story. Because you've got Toya and Nick who still have simmering...
There is still this criminal Rowan, isn't there? And trying to...
But blackmail, criminals, affairs.
Well, let's talk a little bit about this one. There wasn't a whole lot for this story this week. Obviously, next week is going to be bigger, but let's have a quick rundown of what they've been up to this week.
So you're going to talk about the cult stuff first?
Yes. No. I'll talk about what's been going on with Toya.
Right.
Because we only had a little bit of that on Wednesday, didn't we? Which was Toya and Nick going to the hospital to get the results of the scans and tests and whatnot that she's been having done. Unfortunately, for all us Toya fans out here, and Toya herself, I guess, they've only found cancer in the one ovary. They're going to take it out, get rid of a fallopian tube. There could still be a chance that they found that it spread, which would mean more extensive surgery, hysterectomy or whatever, or getting the other ovary. That would mean going straight into menopause. I think and I hope that it's not going to go that far. I'm kind of thinking this is just a vehicle for Toya and Nick's little affair, romance, whatever you call it, that's going on here. I'm really, and obviously Leanne deciding that she doesn't want anything to do with Toya. I think that I'm hoping that in the next few weeks that this part of the story is over. So she's got the news. She's put a brave face on it. Toya's very reassured by Nick being there, and also the fact that there's a plan in place for her. But bloody Leanne, when she comes in, not even acknowledging the fact that Toya's been to the hospital. You see at the beginning of the episode where she kind of swans past without wishing her luck because she has withdrawn with love. And it's really difficult to see because we obviously love Toya and Leanne together, but it makes sense storyline-wise with the cult and her distancing herself. But anyway, end of the episode, you got Nick cooking, Leanne comes in, and you can tell that she really... What she's saying, I'm withdrawing from love from Toya, is really difficult for her because she does want to know how Toya is. She kind of off the record, how was Toya doing? And she says, look, thanks for looking after her. It's for the best that I keep away from her, but I'm glad that you're there for Toya when I can't be. Although I think if Leanne knew exactly what Toya and Nick had been getting up to, she wouldn't be so keen. Friday, it was all back to the Institute stuff again, though, and Amy is back from her retreat, all empowered, and Rowan's there. I want to know how many other characters, or how many other people that Rowan's got, in his control at the moment, because he seems to be spending an awful lot of time at the bistro. Has he got, women all over Weatherfield?
I think that Leanne's his whale.
You reckon?
Yeah.
You reckon that's where the cash is coming from?
That's what they call it when you have an app that's paid to play, and there are certain users who spend a lot of money, and they're called the whales. And I think that she's definitely on the hook, and he's riding down with the whole, I don't know, boat full of people with a harpoon.
I thought that was William and Kate's nickname, the whales.
No, they're...
Aren't they the Prince and Princess of Wales at the moment?
Yeah, I guess so. They're where the Cambridge is now, they're the Wales.
Anyway, so Rowan comes in and says, "Look, Leanne, brilliant news. Willow wants you to run the new resource centre and we're going to be meeting a potential investor today." I can't even figure out what this resource centre actually is supposed to do or be.
No, in my mind, like, there was... I don't know if this still happens now, but there was a trend in schools to call the library the Learning Resource Centre.
Oh, yeah, that was... Yeah, because my mum was a school librarian, wasn't she?
Is that still what they call it?
I assume it's just, like, a place where they can help people. Because the Institute is pretending to be something that is, a help...
Well, it's like a community centre for a cult.
I think it's basically
I think if they called it that, though, that would give the game away.
Do you reckon? So the investor shows up and he's very keen to hear Leanne's vision for the centre. So Rowan leaves a couple of them, the two of them, to chat.
What's going on here? What do you think
this investor, he clearly knows he's up to no good with Rowan, isn't he? Because he gives Rowan a very knowing look as he leaves, and he's like, "Oh, how you doing? Nice to see you." So I don't think there was any chance of this investor investing. It was literally just a ploy by Rowan. He knew it was going to go wrong.
He's not a real investor?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
As the guy turns into a bit of a perv himself, doesn't he? And offers to take Leanne out on the town and says, "Oh, I don't just invest in the idea, I invest in the person, and I want to invest in you, hint, hint, if you get my meaning." And Leanne tells him where to go, and Rowan's like, oh, it's such a shame, isn't it? You know, I totally understand your why you did that. It must, especially considering the consequences that telling him to do one could have had. We can't open the resource centre without him unless... Oh, what about... No, I can't say. What about Amy? She's got oodles of cash, hasn't she?
It's Maybe for she'd like to invest. Isn't it?
Yeah. So Leanne's now on board with Amy joining her. And Leanne believes that this is a perfectly innocent and positive thing for Amy to do. She's not trying to hoodwink Amy into doing this.
No. Again, she believes in the Institute, and so does Amy.
Yeah.
And Amy's come back from this... a week away, like, thinking, this is the best thing that ever happened to me. And, my God, if there's a car out there that can do that for me, please, I will join it. I don't care.
Although, I don't think Leanne actually... She mentions investing to Amy in that scene at the end of the episode where she's like, well, now you're on board, there's so many things that you can do. You can help people join, you can invest, you can get more involved in it. But I don't think she actually said to her, do you want to put Deirdre's money into this? Although on the phone to Rowan at the end of the episode, Leanne does say, well, me and Amy are going to see a financial advisor tomorrow. I don't know whether I only kind of half-watched this or not, but I don't think we saw Amy agreeing to this, so this might be a little bit of a surprise to her.
This might be Monday. Wishful thinking and Leanne reality coding.
Yeah, maybe it was. Maybe it was reality coding in action. Do you think that Amy is going to lose her money? Because Nick's given 20 grand, hasn't he?
Can I just say, this is like when I get money. It gets spent 1 million times in my head before it ever leaves the account. Amy's money that Deirdre left her has been hanging around in the show for so long. It's so tempting for the writers. I think they want to just get it out of the way.
But Amy's only had access to it since she's been 18, so it's not been too long.
Yeah, but we've been talking about what's she going to do with Deirdre's money for years, the pair of us. Just get rid of it.
I would really like to hope that either she does spend it and she gets it back, or that she sees the light before she does it. Because I'd hate to think that poor Deirdre, R.I.P., ends up losing all her money down the toilet because Amy's been tricked.
Why does Amy get a trust fund? Who does she think she is?
You're just jealous that you haven't got one.
Where's my trust fund? I want to spend it on a...
Wouldn't trust you with it. That's the whole point. No, I think that... I still think that Amy being head over heels with this cult seems a little bit out of character, and I know we said the same thing about Leanne, but at least with Leanne we had everything that went on with Ollie to back up that she was a very damaged person. I know that Amy was damaged because of Aaron.
They really should have said something a bit about Aaron, like something a bit more concrete than I thought it was brilliant and it made me realise I can do anything. If only they'd said something like, I've realised I was holding on to so much baggage over what happened to me with Aaron, and now they've let me know, something a bit more concrete than just... I mean, anyone could have said what Amy said. I can do whatever I want. you could have put that into any character's mouth, but Amy's got a specific background that is very recent, that's a trauma that she identifies quite strongly with, that would actually be a hook a cult would use to manipulate her.
Yeah,
Why not make a concrete reference to that?
I think that Amy, she's just been underused a bit too much recently, because she had the drink spiking scene in the club, which was great, and that could have been rife for potential that could have led into this, but then she had a load of time off, and then there was obviously the rape. She's been doing the shoulder volunteering, whatever that's looked like. Has she still got the radio show where she talks about how badly women are treated? I don't know, because we just see her here and there.
You sound like Andrew Tate. She got some kind of radio show about women being mistreated. What a load of rubbish. When's she going to grow up?
You know what I'm saying? I think that they could have afforded to develop that side of things a little bit more, rather than just hinting at it, then leaving her free for months and then hoping that we'll remember it and thinking, oh, that's why she's being taken in by the cult.
You brought up a really good point here. If Rowan had opened his gambit with Amy, you did that podcast. I listened to it. You make so much sense. You're a very intelligent woman. You're exactly the sort of person we need. That would have been enough to make me think that anything that they said from then on, she would just fall hook, line and sinker for.
But in any case, I'm hoping, because I think Leanne is in too deep, and as much as I love it, and I like to see Leanne go up the ranks, I kind of think maybe I don't need to see that with Amy, and she doesn't need the circle of shame. Is Amy going to have an upload session? I don't know. That could be kind of fun, because she does have a few things that she might confess, hasn't she? But I'd like her to see the light and pull away before she gets dragged down as deep as Leanne.
Here's a prediction / something that could be fun, a suggestion. What if Amy starts to smell a rat and work with Nick and Toya against the Institute, but we don't hear anything about Amy's interactions with them and what she said and what they got on her, but then Swain appears at the cafe as Toya and the bistro as Toya, Nick and Amy are conflating about what their latest plot is to bring Rowan down. Swain comes in and says, Amy, we've got information about your actions at the night of whenever you dumped that man in a...
But Swain knows about that already, doesn't she?
I know, but she's now got more concrete evidence. She's got the tape that Rowan's got recorded.
I can't remember exactly how much Amy confessed to.
No, I don't remember.
Because Swain pretty much just let her off with a slap on the wrist and said, well, some men do deserve it, don't they?
That's, that's why I'm a lesbian. What can I say? Men.
Anyway, I'm obviously going to have a lot more of that kind of stuff next week, but it was just a warm-up today.
I think it would be fun if Amy'd gotten up to something that Rowan's got dirt on everybody.
Yeah. She has got some dirt in her closet, but the fact that she's already...
You're mixing your meth.
She's actually confessed it to the police already. There's probably other people that would have a lot more to say.
Maybe we engineer another jaunt for Amy and her.
I don't know. I like that Amy's involved in the story because I love Amy and I love the story, but I don't know. Anyway, that was about it for this week's Coronation Street. Difficult one to score for me this week because I absolutely adored the Tyrone and Alina and Fizz drama. Hope, Jack, Sam, brilliant. They could and really should have got more out of the breakup and maybe had Sam's reaction afterwards. I just couldn't get into the Lauren story. And then you had the Mason, the Beth, the Anne story that were just fairly tame, but the stuff from number 9 really did carry the week for me. So I think I'm gonna give it 3.5 cups of cold sick.
Lovely.
Out of 5, and there's a stew reference there.
I don't want a stew of cold sick.
What about you?
I was going to give it 3.5 as well. I'm going to give it 3.5 condoms in a paper bag, but don't use the half.
That's more than enough. Don't use the half
if
one.
you find it's been sliced in anyway, reject it.
Yeah, not as effective.
Character of the week, it's got, although we've had so many great...
I think there's an obvious character of the week. I'm assuming you're thinking the same as me. Are we thinking 3, 2, 1, Hope? Yeah. It's Hope, isn't it? Hope was character of the week. But...
What a great... I think sometimes we take it for granted as well, because we've got some really fantastic child actors in a show that's got, a long history of talent, young talent. I think we take it for granted a bit, but, they trust these kids with some really fun stuff and some dramatic stuff too. But Bella and
Jude,
great. The comic timing, fantastic.
There's been a bit of a cult of Hope for many years since Bella took over the role. Yeah, there has been for
These
Sam.
two are cult characters. These two are like the most favourite child characters.
There have definitely been times that Hope has been in it that I've not been as into her as it feels like the rest of the internet has.
Be careful.
And I think at the beginning it was because I really, really loved the old Hope, and she was a proper cutie, cancerous Hope. And there were bits where I thought that maybe it was getting a bit too stale having New Hope setting fire things again. But I've got 100% turned into a convert for her now, and I think now that they're not just putting her in various situations, which they were doing a lot of, like Hope setting fire to this, now she's setting fire to that, now she's getting her and Ruby trapped in the factory with the buzzsaw. They've eased off slightly on that, and I think that's what's done it for me. And I think that she's fantastic. She's absolutely fabulous, and I think that great little actress as well. And like I was saying earlier, can't wait for both of her and Jude to get old enough that they can start being used a little bit more.
If that's what they want to do.
If that is indeed what they wish to do. Jude's still keeping his finger in the brassic pie at the moment, isn't he? He's still filming that at the same time.
What flavour is that, do you think? It kind of reminds me of broccoli and gravy.
That must be what it is. But there we go. Not a bad week at all on the street this week.
A fairly decent week with some good highlights and some comedic.
Better than a cold bucket of sick.
All right, we've heard it already.